The tour through the regular season goes back in time, where the series rips through the track too tough to tame. 73 years ago, this place saw the light of day, and with the sun beaming down in virtual South Carolina tonight, the ninth contest of the season 6 of the Sunoco Cup Series takes to the virtual Darlington Raceway for the SimRapidMarket.com 180. A historic night in the making, and we welcome you to our coverage on Podium Esports, where alongside DJ Clark in the broadcast booth, my name is Kenneth Bueno. Ryan Bauer punching all the buttons and producing all the shots you'll see this evening. He's using cameras provided by Dougie Beer. DJ, what was a fantastic Kansas race last week now turns over to Darlington. We continue to get closer to the playoffs at the tail end of the regular season. I don't have my monocle or top hat tonight to kind of throw back properly, but we are going to have a lot of throwbacks. It's a very fun night for the drivers, and one that'll be tough on them as well.
If that's what we're doing for a throwback, you could have let me know. I would have hopped into my closet and got my own monocle out, done a little bit of that action. But no, it is throwback night. We've got some beautiful schemes out on this track. But more importantly, Kenneth, we are at the Lady in Black, one of the trickiest circuits on the NASCAR calendar, headed to Darlington here tonight to see which driver is not only going to be able to win this race, but which driver is going to be able to survive. Because this is, as it always seems to be, at this 1.36 mile oval, it's going to be a war of attrition, and it's going to be a war keeping all four tires pointed the right way.
It's known as a driver's track, that's for sure, DJ, and we're going to see a lot of drivers sideways and trying to manhandle their race cars throughout the entire evening. I know we got an afternoon race as well. Darlington now the 9th entrant into Season 6 of this Sunoco Cup Series. So look at our 2023 schedule. This is where we've been, where we are tonight at the Darlington Raceway, and where we are headed. And DJ, we come into this race with a heap of new winners coming out of the fold. The last 4 races have seen 4 different winners, none of them being repeat ones. So they've all gotten their first win this season, meaning that this trend might continue through Darlington, and we might just have an entirely stacked playoff field by the time we end it at Daytona.
Yeah, we very well could. The only driver able to get a repeat win this year, that's a certain Mr. Mario Miranda, so no surprise that he's sitting on top of the championship here. But yeah, I've got to agree with you. And with the run of circuits that we've had going from Vegas to Dega to Dover to Kansas to Darlington to Charlotte, yes, we've got 3.5-mile intermediate ovals in there, but it's sort of the 3 different breeds of those circuit, let's call it. And of course, going to Charlotte next week with the constant history there of running that quad oval, I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility. We see another winner here tonight, somebody new to be able to top on the top step of the podium. It's going to be fascinating to see just who's going to be able to pull this off and who's going to be able to make it work around this tricky circuit.
And last week at Kansas Speedway, it was Lawson Peel getting his first win of Season 6. The driver to come home, though, inside the top 15 was the number 14 of Austin Shoemaker, and he joined us now in the broadcast booth. First of all, welcome, Austin, to the broadcast, and I want to ask you just plain and simply about tonight. Darlington driver's track, really tough to manhandle behind the wheel. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, it's going to be a tough one tonight. I say I was pretty quick in practice back on Tuesday, so hopefully I can stay off the wall and stay out of trouble and avoid the wrecks tonight, because I'm sure there'll be plenty of opportunities. So so the goal is to stay patient and see what the night brings us.
And talk about how different this track is to drive compared to a lot of others. I mean, you can just use Kansas Speedway last week as a benchmark. What does it take to get around Darlington in the way that you do with this next-gen car, and how unique is it compared to the other tracks we see on the schedule?
It's definitely tough. Obviously, 3 and 4 is a little tighter than 1 and 2. So I'd say it changes throughout the race. On fresh tires, you can stay in 5th, downshift to 4th, and then later in the runs, you stay in 5th. So it just kind of depends on how the car's running at the time. But yeah, it's definitely a tough track to maneuver.
Tough track, but it's also a lot of fun. I mean, you're sporting a throwback here tonight. I want you to talk about the throwback you're bearing here tonight. We saw it in the NASCAR Cup Series, I think a couple of years ago, but just walk us through the throwback you're bearing tonight on your Ford Mustang, and just how fun is it to engage in the whole throwback theme for a type of race like Darlington? Yeah,
Darlington is definitely a unique track when it comes to the throwbacks. I like how they put that on every year. And the Shell Pennzoil scheme that I'm running tonight, yeah, that was a Joey Logano scheme from a couple of years ago that he threw back. So it's one of my favorite ones. I love the color concept on it, so just figured I'd go ahead and rock it tonight. So hopefully it goes well.
beautiful scheme out on track. We know you've got a pretty decently fast race car. So Austin, we hope to see you on track. Best of luck, and thank you so much for joining us.
All right, thank you guys.
That's Austin Shoemaker in the number 14, currently 11th in the practice charts, or now 12th, as I think one of the drivers just overcame the top 11 or so. The driver a couple of spots back who was fighting with Austin for position in practice. We didn't know who to interview first, but it's the other Shoemaker in this fold, the number 4 of Chris Shoemaker. And Chris, thank you for joining us. And I talked to Austin just a little bit ago about how tough it is to drive this track. What are your thoughts about Darlington Raceway and some of your expectations going into tonight's race?
I'll tell you what, it's tricky. You know, you can put in all the practice laps you want, but they don't mean a hill of beans until you get into traffic. You know, when you get around all the traffic, there's going to be a lot of pileups, I'm sure, and the key is just trying to avoid it and stay there for the end.
Looks like survival seems to be the biggest key. You finished inside the top 15 last week at Kansas with a nice P11 after starting in 20th. So is the momentum starting to roll your way? And if so, how is it going to try to keep itself going throughout the rest of the regular season and get you into the playoffs for 2023?
You know, it seems like it's always a challenge because, you know, go on vacation or miss a race, and so it kind of puts you behind the 8 ball in the points. But, no, I feel like we've been pretty consistent lately. Haven't gotten into too many wrecks. Tried to stay out of trouble best we can. But, yeah, if we can just keep doing that, usually we end up falling around, you know, top 15, 16, barely get into the playoffs, and that's usually the goal. But, yeah, I think we're in the right direction.
And I talked with Austin about his throwback scheme. I know you've got some good colors on your Ford Mustang tonight, so just walk us through the meaning and inspiration behind running your paint scheme this evening.
I'll tell you what, I've been a big Martin fan forever, so this is just tribute to him. Dustin obviously has the 6 number, and so I've got the 4, you know, for Harvick. But no, big Martin fan, so just throw back to him.
There's one of at least 5 or 6 Mark Martin schemes. I think Mark Martin's somewhat of a fan favorite tonight with the throwbacks. This one as beautiful as can be. Yeah, there's a lot of them tonight. But Chris, thank you so much for joining us, and best of luck in tonight's race from Darlington. I know it's going to be a fun one.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
So we got the 2 Shoemakers interviewed. Chris now going to head back out on track and put in his qualifying time in just a couple of minutes. But before we do that, DJ, let's talk about one of the newest things added into the Sunoco Cup Series for this year, and that is what's known as the Big Bracket Challenge. I've never seen this in a league by any stretch of the imagination, but it's a very creative idea put forward by Dakota Curtis and the admin team of the Sunoco Cup Series. $200 goes to the winner of this entire thing, and it goes as simple as this. Over the next couple of weeks until Daytona, you just have one driver to beat. End results. If you beat them, you advance, and then it goes all the way to a championship round. It's a lot of fun, and also gives the incentive for drivers who are not necessarily in contention for the playoffs to go for something extra too.
It keeps everybody engaged, keeps everybody involved a little bit, as it were, and really adds a new level of intrigue to the series. I love the idea that we're doing it, as there you can see the full bracket challenge, 32 drivers working their way down into the Sweet 16 and then all the way down into the championship. But I got to tell you, as a big college basketball fan, I always love to see a good bracket. So it's going to be a fun way to keep your eyes on everything, and we'll try to keep you up to date over the next couple of weeks just how that's going to shake itself out.
I think you literally just read my mind. I was thinking March Madness. It's not March anymore. We passed it like 2 months ago, but still, I love the feeling of a tournament style, and you never know. We could have some Cinderella upsets in there too with the way the results have swung and how these races have been parity-wise. Now, DJ, let's get down to the nitty-gritty. Let's talk about Darlington Raceway in particular, the first and only time we'll see it this season. What does it take to drive around this speedway?
It requires tenacity, it requires guts, and it requires a good car, because it's a little bit, well, not a little bit, it's a lot of it unique when we talk about ovals here in the States. As you said, built back in 1950, 1.36 miles, so a little bit of an odd length when it comes to ovals, and an oblong shape here. Turns 1 and 2 wider than coming into 3 and 4. And that changes everything up. At about 23 to 25 degrees of banking in these corners. And unlike most of the circuits that we run on, you're going to want to be running the top lane. Kind of an interesting story about how that top lane was developed. When this track was first built, they put in the top lanes here as a way to be a little bit of a way to catch some of the cars that caught into incidents. Well, race car drivers being race car drivers, they quickly realized, you know, running up in that top lane, that sort of catch area, that's the faster way to go around here. And so the danger and the sketchiness of running Darlington was born from there on out. You've got to be running up against the high line here and watch for a lot of slide jobs. It's the way to be able to go on by. And watch for drivers struggling a little bit, maybe dipping some tires down into the flat part of this circuit when these cars get a little bit sketchier, and that can really throw the balance of the car. They'll almost bottom out a little bit as you do it.
Yeah, the one thing to note about Darlington is that it is so miraculously narrow, way different from any of the other surfaces we see on the schedule. Here's a look at the race analysis and how things will fare out for tonight's event from the track Too Tough to Tame. 135 laps on tap and stages at 40 apiece for stage 1 and stage 2. So similar to what we saw last week at Kansas, but a different final stage at 55 laps to get us to our scheduled distance of 135. We go 184.41 miles and just over 296 kilometers, and we got 3 green, white, checkered attempts if we need them to end this race. No fast repairs as always, and much like with every week in the Sunoco Cup Series, this is fixed setup. So every driver with the same equipment for the most part. They can only change just a couple of things, and that's what's going to make this track being so much fun to drive for them. They're going to have to deal with a lot of challenges as things get moving forward. Now, as we move into qualifying, we'll see how drivers put in their laps, and this is one of the many throwbacks that we'll talk about in tonight's race, DJ. There are a lot of them. These Sunoco Cup Series drivers have really indulged in the throwback nature, and while Dakota Curtis was supposed to be running a Danica Patrick-inspired paint scheme, switched it last minute. Scott Riggs on behalf of the Ford Mustang for 0G tonight, and this is his first of 2 qualifying laps at the exit of turn 2.
And you're seeing right there as Dakota Curtis came off of turn 2, something we're going to be talking about quite a bit here tonight. Cars getting squirrely off of the corners. And the cars are going to get very loose. They're going to get very, very darty. And you've got to be careful about it. There you can see it again. Curtis just having to absolutely wheel the car to get it faced the right way. It's going to be tricky to get right, but Curtis sets the early time down on the board, immediately taken away by Isaac Mock, as these times are going to be coming in fast and furious.
Yeah, a lot of drivers putting in times, and only 4 so far, now 5 almost about on the board. So things are really going to be shifting rather quickly. And Dakota Curtis heading into 3 and 4 for his last of his 2 qualifying times, and going to be wrapping the bottom, the dashed line at the inside of turns 3 and 4. Now, you talked about it, DJ, the 2 different sides of this track at display, and we've heard about it in the interviews as well pre-race, is that you've got a wider arc in turns 1 and 2. You're going way faster, and then turns 3 and 4, slightly smaller degrees of banking, so you're going a little bit slower. 2 different ways to drive this racetrack, and as you watch Parker Bland in the number 18 roll by, and then here's one of the Shoemakers that we talked to, Chris Shoemaker, in the number 4, you'll see just the ideological difference in where they run and how they want to get momentum off of the corners.
Yeah, very much so, and I think Chris there may have actually made a little bit of contact with the outside wall. That's something that we're going to see, I think, quite a bit over the course of qualifying here. Drivers just having a little bit of a brush with the wall, and unfortunately, because of the way the iRacing system works, you make that contact with the outside wall, that's immediately going to discount your laps. We watch the SK Sim Racing driver here, Sean Kalis, bringing the car down across the line. That's going to be a 30.281 for Kalis. The 43 going to be listed as 8th here at the moment.
8 so far. It appears a lot of drivers, DJ, though, are just kind of waiting. I see Ross Harlow. I see the number 88, Justin Winters. I see a couple of drivers that are just waiting at the start of this kind of outlap, as you would call it, right at the end, or the exit, rather, of pit road. Sean Kalis going to come across the line so far, P9 as it stands. We'll see if that lap improves. It does not look like it does, so at a 30.048, the number 43 will be. Here's Dustin Reeves in the number 6 for Prestige Worldwide Racing. Not necessarily a throwback, but if you recognize those WR1 colors, similar to what Michael Conti runs in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. And finally, Ross Harlow in the number 5 heads out, one of the former winners, DJ, at this track, won all the way back in January of 2022. Not with this car, but back when this series was running Gen 6. So Harlow looking to replicate some of the success here at the track Too Tough to Tame. Goes through 1 and 2 for the first time.
Yeah, he's going to bring a nice line here. Let's see if there's any big wiggles coming off of it. Looks like he was able to keep it together. You see him actually making the shift there. We talked to a little bit of the Shoemakers there talking about how to make that shift from 4th to 5th, depending on where you are on the track. Looks like Ross is going to be opting to make that shift here at this moment. Good lines coming off of the corner. Not a lot of squirreliness. This should be a quick time here, I think, for Harlow. And indeed, it is up to the top of the charts.
29.58. The fastest that we've seen so far in qualifying, and still more to come on this second lap. Looks like a pretty tidy line through 1 and 2, a little bit loose at the exit at 2, and to make his way through 3 and 4. Downshift at the bottom end of turns 3 and 4, the 23 degrees of banking, trying to fight it at the exit of the final corner. Chased it down the track a little bit. Will the time improve? Answer is yes, by just a couple of thousandths of a second. 29.583 is where Ross Harlow will put it at the top of the board. Here's the 14. Austin Shoemaker now heading out of turn 2. Going to be here on his, I believe, first lap here of 2 tonight. It's a rip in the high wall. That's going to be an outside touch, and that's going to be a lap invalidated. But fortunately, DJ, he's got a second lap in it, but just fun to watch. Again, the different lines, especially in 3 and 4. That 14 way up top, Ross Harlow, one of those that's faithful to the bottom.
Yeah, he's going to hold down to the bottom, let the car drift up here a little bit, coming down through the corner. Going to keep it off the wall this time. That's going to be crucial there for him. Let's see if he's able to do it. No, another big bit of contact there for Austin Shoemaker, and that is going to be some more damage on the car and another lap invalidated, unfortunately. I think that's going to be both of them. So Shoemaker going to be starting at the back of the field.
Yeah, Shoemaker is going to have a tough route here on the starting grid. Here's Justin Winters on the SKM number 88 Chevy Camaro. And if you recognize this as a NASCAR fan, you probably should. This is Dale Jr. number 1, 2012, the Mountain Dew Batman scheme that he ran back at Michigan, where he ended up winning that race. Justin Winters throwing back to that very, very great moment in Dale Jr.'s illustrious and historic NASCAR Cup Series career. And kind of funny enough that Dale Jr. in the ceremonies for the NASCAR 75 greatest list, all of them banded together and had themselves on the stages. Justin Winters hits the outside wall on turns 1 and 2, but a great moment for the whole entire NASCAR history of things, of the drivers, the team owners, and even the current drivers that raced earlier today. And Justin Winters going to go through the outside at turns 3 and 4. We'll see if he can find a time here. The 88 currently parked in P6. A bit of a rough exit out of turn 4, a little loose, and that will not be an improvement. 29.923 is where he'll stick.
And he'll stay there at that moment as we watch Gary Sexton coming across the line for 0G. Gary running a Jeff Burton sit-go forward throwback. We actually had a conversation with Gary that he had a couple other ideas, but he's so used to running black cars that he wanted to change things up a little bit. So put a little color, a little dash of color onto it, and that's going to be a time that they are getting on the board. Gary's going to find his way up into 7th position.
Yeah, nice qualifying effort for Gary Sexton, who, by the way, came off of a pretty decent race last week at Kansas Speedway and has had some really good results as of late. And Sexton actually coming home all the way in P32. It looked like at Kansas, but the week before ended up at Dover Motor Speedway with a top 4 finish. And so Gary Sexton looking to turn things around. And you're right, he initially had a Jeremy Mayfield paint scheme. I saw it earlier this week and I was like, beautiful, beautiful car. I can't wait to talk about it on Sunday. And then last minute changes it to the Sitco car. Not that it's not beautiful, but I was expecting the other Jeremy Mayfield car, but just came to that decision and said that he loved both of the paint schemes that he made, decided to go with the Jeff Burton inspired one tonight. Here's Mario Miranda. Like you said, DJ, the only driver this season with 2 wins on the calendar year. He's the only one that has more than one right now, going into turns 3 and 4. And after what had happened at Kansas Speedway, where he had gotten slacked under the outside wall, entering turn 1, he's looking for a comeback tonight.
Yeah, he's looking for a comeback. Jesse Whittington there coming down and across the line. The number 94 going to find themselves in 6th place as we jump back on board with Mario. And I've got to say, this has always been one of my favorite liveries of all time. The Kyle Petty mellow yellow throwback here. For whatever reason, this is the car that sticks in my head when I think about my life, when I think about NASCAR racing as a kid. This is the car that immediately comes to mind, so I love seeing Mario being able to throw that back here at this point, and he's immediately going to jump his way up into P2. A great run for the 99.
A beautiful qualifying time, 29.471, and that looks to be second fastest behind Steven Stempien. But you're right, those mellow yellow colors are always unmistaken, and they're so beautiful on any race car. I mean, just the vibrant colors of the red and the yellow and the bright green. And I think Kyle Larson actually ran it back. I'm looking at it now, 2015, he ran the throwback with his Chevy SS. to those Kyle Petty days. So Miranda with his mellow yellow throwback and surges to second behind Steven Stepien. Here is Austin Reedy in the number 96, one of 2 McDonald's themed throwbacks you'll see tonight. This is based off of Andy Houston's 2001 McDonald's Ford Taurus, but you'll see the 94 of Jesse Whittington with a similar paint scheme, throwing back to Bill Elliott's 1999 McDonald's Ford Taurus. And here's Warren Kyle Keefe in the number 24, who had such a good run going at Kansas before it all went wrong near the end. This one a very bright Mark Martin 2009 scheme.
And we've got a lot of Mark Martin love in the fields here tonight. And I think that's a testament to both the love just of Mark Martin and, frankly, the number of brilliant schemes that he ran through the years. Here's Ray Rogers in the number 11 machine, making his way around here with about 14 seconds left to go. Rogers is just going to be trying to pick up a little bit of time here. He's currently 15th. We do have about, let's call it a half dozen drivers that aren't going to qualify here, and they're not going to get a time in as the checkered flag flies.
Checkered flag will come out before Rogers can put in his second time, so it looks like 15th is where he'll stand. Rogers coming off of his best finish of Season 6, a 4th place at Kansas 7 days ago. Let's take you trackside and take you through your throwback starting grid for the SimRapMarket.com 180 from Darlington Raceway, and it all begins with Steven Stepien in the number 81 looking for win number 2 in 2023. He's got Mario Miranda looking for redemption after Kansas last week on the outside of the first row. Austin Reedy in the 96 for Fast Banana lines it up on third with this time at a 29.492. He's got defending champion Lawson Peel and the winner from last week at Kansas on his outside. Zach Wilson, the lap driver inside the top 5 in the 51 car inside row number 3. Colin Forster, the rookie phenom, on his outside in P6. Doubled up in row number 4, you'll find the 5 of Ross Harlow, previous winner here back in Season 4, and Richard Swagley for SheriffStrafe.com Racing in his number 32 Chevrolet. Behind them will be Jesse Whittington in the number 94 inside row number 5, and rounding out your top 10 for Fast Banana Racing, the number 30 of Wyatt Brackett.
Lining up in 11th, it's going to be Casey Knighton, followed by Garrett Brown in the number 16, making a nice little row there as we move back into row 7. That'll be Logan Sturgeon for SheriffStrafe.com Racing, followed by Isaac Mock in the Nitro Motorsports number 47. Row 8 is going to feature Ray Rogers and Joe Mahard there, the RTR and SK drivers lining up there. Row 9, Dakota Curtis, series organizer, going to be starting off there to the inside with Warren Kyle Keefe to his outside in the number 24. And then as we move back to finish out your top 20, Gary Sexton for Zero G and Chris Shoemaker going to be 20th spot.
Brennan Branks bringing the IROC colors into 54 this evening. He starts in P21. Kevin Hurley throwing it back to 1995. And Ken Schrader, he lines up in 22nd. Curtis Kelly in the 71, throwing it back to Casey Kane, his 23rd. Justin Winters, we mentioned that Dale Earnhardt Jr. scheme that he took to the Michigan win in 2012. The 88 starts 24th tonight. Justin Erb is 25th. Parker Bland on the outside in the 18 car in P26. 27th will be James Kunkel in the number 3, sporting a Cheerios throwback, and Bill Schoonover in the number 9, both of those drivers for Nitro Motorsports. Sean Kalis, Brad Fulham, those two lined up to round out your top 30.
And then starting off in 31st position, that's going to be Kip Beasley, followed by Travis Stevens, one of the few independent drivers in the field as we roll back in row 17, which is going to have Chuck Phelps down to the inside and Ryan Kendall to his outside, another independent driver there. And then Austin Shoemaker, who we got to talk to during the race, he's going to be flanked by the SK Sim Racing driver of Judd Danielson. Row 19 features Dustin Rebus and Alex Muscarella. We move back a little bit farther in the field. Then it's Chris Progar and Dakota Wilson to round out your top 40. There as they run. 40 cars ready to rip around the track, too tough to tame. This one's going to be fun.
Going to be a lot of fun. Track at a crispy 107 degrees. We roll past 4 o'clock here in sim time, and it will be Steven Stepien and Mario Miranda, 2 drivers with checkered flags in Season 6 of the Sunoco Cup Series, looking to take their throwback machines to victory lane. Pace car is down, ready for the beginning of the SimRapMarket.com 180 from the Lady in Black, Steven Stepien, to lead us through, and we are green in race number 9. scheme paying homage to Kenny Wallace's 1997 car. Currently up at the front with Steven Stempien leading by 0.3 of a second. Miranda far back in that position. Austin Riddy so far locking up the top 3, and some drivers side by side, turns 3 and 4. But so far at Darlington, DJ, first 2 laps, everyone looking to single file out, get this race underway, and at least have this first stage be as clean as possible. Although side by side, further back in the field, Ray Rogers in a bit of a mix-up here with Joseph Maher, a battle for 15th.
Yeah, and I was actually watching this battle just a little bit as they went. They were almost 3-4 wide coming down the front straightaway at the end of lap 1, but able to sort themselves out a little bit more. Dakota Curtis just trying to find a little bit of an advantage. Oh, a little bit of a brush to the wall. That's not going to be the first time we say that, or the last time we say that over the course of here tonight. It's going to be a war of attrition. Remember, you've got to keep the car off the wall, keep it as clean as possible, and just focus on running your own lines here. We heard Chris Shoemaker talking about just how difficult it is to run in the dirty air around here. You can see a lot of drivers searching for that clean air on the noses of these cars.
And you'll see it most notably in 3 and 4, where you have those viable options of inside, middle, and top. Turns 1 and 2, you can kind of alternate a little bit, but a lot of drivers are just looking for that downwards arc at the exit of 2 so that they don't tank slap the outside wall. And throwing back to what I had just said about single file racing, this is more of a driver's track. You're probably more going against the racing surface itself than you are against the competition around you, and especially in these first couple of laps, everybody tippy-toeing, just making sure they do not make a crucial mistake. And like we talked about before in this series, no fast repairs, so you do not have a freebie to repair your race car. Here's Richard Swavely riding inside the top 8. Currently 7th right now in his Chevrolet Camaro. This is a nice throwback to Benny Parsons' 1988 Bullseye for Thunderbird. A very interesting scheme, and one that I don't think I've ever seen before until Swavely put it in the New Paints chat that he was going to be running this scheme for tonight. A gorgeous car with black tooth on the side and the front of the Camaro. And Swavely so far running well behind Colin Forrester. P7 is where he sits.
Yeah, try to come up behind that rookie phenom. And remember, we saw Colin have a really good run last time out, but just seemed to fall off of course, a long-run pace. So Colin's going to hopefully be able to address that here tonight. So we got a little bit of side-by-side further on up in the field here at this moment. That is going to be Forrester, and I believe Wilson there duking it out just a little bit. Forrester able to get by the number 51. Now it's going to be Swavely looking down to the inside of that 51 to see if he's going to be able to get any runs here. And you can see, having to back out of it there, you lose a lot of time. Right on board with Zach Wilson, focused in, focused on the screen, focused on the sim. He is looking like he is absolutely locked in.
And locked in and ripping his wheel right now. This is also one of the many throwbacks tonight to Mark Martin. You said it, DJ. Mark Martin is getting a lot of love from the Sunoco Cup Series field. This is throwing back to his Viagra car days, the 51 for RTR Motorsports for 2001, where he's throwing it back to as he tries to recoup himself and get back to Colin Forrester, who's been working on Lawson Peel in a battle for P4, although not successful. Here comes the 31, though, barging in on the outside. Might just make it side by side before they get to turn 1. Now, you saw exactly what the 51 did about a lap ago to that 31 car, and the 12 was doing the same thing, and you brought up a good point, DJ, about having to back out and loses you a lot of time, but in some cases, it probably is the most necessary option this early in the race. You do not want to go side by side in such a narrow turns 1 and 2, and then either risk a driver going the outside wall and ricocheting back down the track, or you making a mistake yourself and having problems of your own. So especially at that side of Darlington Raceway, you really got to be careful, and Wilson kind of erring to the side of caution, saying, I'll let you go for now, I'll get you back later, I'm not going to risk my race car, at least not right now.
Yeah, and I think that's the kind of mentality you've got to have to be successful here. You have to pick and choose your battles. If you've got a car that's going to be rocketing up on by you, let them on by, because let's not forget here, as you mentioned, it's a very, very crispy, to use your word, 109 degrees Fahrenheit out on track right now. Tire wear is going to be a big issue around this track tonight. So you've got to be careful. You don't want to wear out those tires too early. It's much, much better to let a car go on by and let them use up a little bit of the rubber to be able to attack a little bit later.
And what I've noticed as well, DJ, is that could be the case for Colin Forrester. He's picked up a couple of spots since the drop of green, and this could also be just a an homage to how fast he is, just kind of a testament to how good he's been so far. But he's the only driver in 3 and 4 ripping the top. Everybody else, at least within the top 10 is concerned, they're all at the bottom of the racetrack. They are not wanting to go further up in 3 and 4. Forster, though, not really caring all too much. He'll go up to the top, he'll race that high line, and he's making a lot of time of it. Not sure if he's burning up his Goodyear Eagles. As a result, he's getting a lot of time, though, on your leaders, and he continues to reel in the drivers in front. Next one up ahead, the 96 of Austin Reedy, and you can see it right here. Your top 3 just right there, hugging the dashed line at the bottom of 3 and 4. That 31 just kind of kissing the outside wall just a little bit.
Yeah, just make a little bit of contact there with that outside wall. He's going to have to make sure he doesn't do that too often. You're able to get away with it once or twice, but you keep doing that again and again, you're going to sustain some damage to the right-hand side of the car. Right on board with Wilson, down 2 positions since the drop of the green flag, but he's going to have a little bit of a run here on Swavely, and he's got a good run. Swavely, I think, let him go there a little bit of what we talked about, just kind of letting everything play itself out. Now that's going to be Wilson holding back on to 6th place. The crucial thing here is they don't want to lose too much touch with the drivers in front of them. There is a pretty big gap between Lawson Peel and Colin Forrester right now. The battle seems to be on here for about this top 5.
That was RTR Motorsports and RTR, or rather SheriffShafe.com and RTR together. Swavely in the 32, Wilson in the number 51. Here's another one of those SheriffShafe.com racing machines with Jesse Whittington in the number 94, and we talked about it earlier in our show on Podium Esports, rolling with the Bill Elliott throwback from the 90s, one of the 2 McDonald's themed schemes that we'll see this evening, the other being the 96 of Austin Reedy. But Jesse Whittington really here, DJ, has been turning up the intensity in this series in the regular season. He came off of a 6th place finish just last week at Kansas after starting in 11th. He's picked up a couple of top 10s. He's ran pretty consistently throughout the series. So Whittington, one of those underdog drivers that while he doesn't have a win so far in 2023, he might just be knocking on the door, and he's closing in on the next driver in line, Wyatt Brackett, for P9.
Yeah, most certainly. He has got the big mo here at this point. He's got that momentum that's working on behind him. When you talk about running over the course of a season, that's really and truly what you want to have at your back. You want to just keep putting in those good performances, keep getting better and better and better, as it looks like Casey Knighton falling down through the order there into about 23rd, 24th position. Not sure what happened to the number 84. It just looks like he's having a rough run of a couple of corners here.
Yeah, Knighton, it looks like, got into the outside wall on turns 1 and 2, lap 16. And as a result, had significantly fallen back. Justin Erb on board with the number 20 car. And Justin Erb with one of the most heartfelt throwbacks in this entire race. Now, it's a rather basic paint scheme with the yellow and blue on his Chevy Camaro as he goes to the inside of Knighton here. This is going to be a battle for 24th on the racetrack in turns 3 and 4. But Justin Erb is not throwing back to a NASCAR Cup Series driver or any type of NASCAR high-level stock car talent. He's going with his dad's 02 car that his dad used to run back in the day. So it's a
Miranda's into the wall.
Miranda in trouble, sideways on the back straightaway, no caution will wave. Miranda was running inside the top 3 behind your leader prior to this. And the first big mistake here at Darlington comes out from running your front runners right on board here with the 99, right in front of the 96. I believe there was contact in turn 2.
Let's watch as it comes down. The 98, the 99 is going to get a little bit slideways, and there you saw the 98 there just getting into the 96, rather, just getting into the back of them there, unfortunately. A little bit lucky that we didn't have a yellow come out, but absolutely heartbreaking there if you're Mario Miranda, as he now finds himself all the way down through the order in 23rd here at this point.
And you saw it out of turn 2 that 99 was fighting a loose condition and just got in front of the 96. Reedy with absolutely nowhere to go, got into the back bumper and sent that 99 hurling towards the outside safer barrier. Miranda's going to keep on going. It looks like no totaling damage on the right front, but enough damage to hurt him aerodynamically. And he's going to plummet all the way to 23rd. The second time, by the way, in a row that we've seen these two make contact on the racetrack, at least not intentionally. We saw at Kansas where they were hard fighting for P2. Reedy hooked that 99 into the outside wall, ended Miranda's race right then and there. It looks like Reedy's going to be able to continue. Miranda going to have to get some damage and is just hoping and praying that either a caution comes out now or the stage caution comes up way sooner.
Yeah, I think that's what he's going to be hoping for here at this point. And again, that did not look like a malicious run by any stretch of the imagination. I think it was just a bad circumstance there for the 99. Got a little bit sideways coming off the corner. I don't think Reedy was fully anticipating he was going to get that loose coming off the line. And so contact was made there between the two, and that's what happened on it. But we focus in on Ross Harlow here at this moment. Now, he's going to be trying to move his way up ahead towards Zach Wilson, but Wilson's the one with a lot to do here at this point. He's got a battle on with Lawson Peel right now, but Peel, look at that, 3 seconds up the road to Austin Reedy, and a further 1.5 up the road to Steven Stempian, so there is a lot of distance here up the front of this field.
Yeah, a lot of distance, and as they're going side by side, they're only going to lose more time. With that mistake there, what happened with Austin Reedy and Miranda, it slowed them up significantly, and Stempian just had free reign to run away with P1. Lawson Peel holds back on the 51. Looks like he loses that battle for now. Meanwhile, possible battle inside the top 6. Colin Forster weaving his way around the number 94 of Whittington. Try to look on the outside. Could not get it. Now making a 3-car fight for that position. Here comes Wyatt Brackett, the Fast Banana Chevrolet on the inside. Forster way loose out of turn 4.
Way loose is an understatement there. That car was almost completely sideways coming down through the corner. Good heads up, though, for Wyatt Brackett, recognizing that opportunity and absolutely going for it. That's exactly what you want to see if you are a driver here. Oh, we've got one driver getting on down to the inside there. The car's starting to get very, very loose. Over halfway done in the run here. These tires are going to start to be wearing here a little bit. These drivers are going to have to be careful nothing happens to them.
Yeah, track temp, if it stays the way it is, it should go down just a little bit before this race is over. But if it stays at around 109 and around 105, these Goodyear Eagles are going to be flaming hot at the end of this run now. Still about 15 laps into the end of stage number 1 here in the SimRapMarket.com 180 from Darlington. Here's a look at the number 26 of Logan Sturgeon, currently running in P11, and we were talking about Justin Herbst's paint scheme, but we're going to transition here to the driver of the 26. He's got Jeff Gordon's 2002 DuPont 200 Years Monte Carlo that he raced in the 2002 Daytona 500, but just with the big fish colors on the Chevrolet. Nice look for Logan Sturgeon tonight. He's got a front row seat of this battle currently for P9. Rogers getting the best of Forster, and right now that 31 DJ on the back foot starting to really drop through this field.
It's the same story that we saw last week, unfortunately. I think one of the consistencies that we're seeing for that number 1 of 31 of Colin Forster looks very, very strong early on in the run. And then as the run goes along, we see them lose a little bit of time. I think Colin's got to figure out the tire wear just a little bit better in this next-gen NASCAR, as it just looks like it's getting away from him at this point in the running.
Well, the good thing is he can learn as caution comes out. It looks like some trouble. Justin Brad Fulham, those slow on the front straightaway near the start-finish line. Looks like both of them got tangled together in a battle within each other's grasp. And that 19 sporting a throwback all the way to Terry Labonte's 1984 Piedmont Airlines Chevy Monte Carlo, but not a good look so far at the exit of turn 4. You saw them fighting for position out of the corner. Just minimal contact between the two. I think the 02 just came down a little bit, or the 20 rather, and so both of them make the contact. The 19 goes for a slide. The 02 stays up against the outside wall. Fortunately, nobody else gets into it. I think I saw somebody else get into the wall trying to avoid the scenario. But everybody clean for the most part. Here's a look from Dakota Curtis.
Yeah, Dakota, just seeing that battle take place ahead of him there, you see the car scampering on down onto the inside of the circuit, trying to get out of the way as quickly and as smoothly as they can. Well, they certainly made it work there, so a good heads up for all of them. Now, this is going to open up a little bit of a question mark here for, I think, a lot of these drivers. Who's going to opt to come down into pit lane, get a fresh set of boots on the car? Who's going to want to stay out and preserve track position? Not surprising here, Colin Forster going to be one of the first ones to come on into the pits. I think that's a good call, as is Mario Miranda. We already know what happened to that car.
And that saving call there, the 31, saving grace for him is he's able to get some Goodyear Eagles. Gary Sexton, Casey Neidham on those coming in, and Miranda, for obvious reasons, going to come in for damage repair, but we probably should expect some tires and some fuel added to that number 99 just in case. That 31 in his box should be getting out soon. Same deal with the 13 of Sexton as Miranda gets his service. Steven Stempian and company leading this race. So far, all staying out. Stempian has dominated the first 29 laps of this race. He has seen absolutely no competition. He's also, DJ, hasn't seen any lap traffic just because of how short this race has gone so far. And with the back of the field not necessarily having as many problems, they've been hanging in there. So it really hasn't been a matter of lap traffic nor anyone fighting him for the lead. Stepien really quick so far tonight, and he's one of those drivers that is really talented at these hard to drive abrasive surfaces. We saw a lot of star-studded action at Dover. We saw some great things at Kansas last week. Looking for win number 2 in 2023.
Yeah, he's going to be going for it here, and my question is going to be for these leaders here, with Stepien, with Reedy, if they're able to exact that same kind of gap that we saw off of the restart once again. Steven Stepien just got the right kind of jump that he wanted to off of the drop of the green flag and was able to scamper away off into the distance. Is he going to be able to do that again, or is this going to be a situation where Reedy can put him under pressure? We have not seen what that number 81 can do when they're under pressure. So that's going to really change things up. As we take a look at the field right now, 27th on back, opting to come down in and take those tires.
And top 26 deciding to stay out, going to be looking for the stage caution here in about 10 laps or so. So it's going to be a pretty quick dash all the way to lap number 40. We do have another 40 lap stint for stage number 2, and then our longest at 55 laps here at Darlington Raceway to end at 135. So far, a lot of clean racing. We've seen some ups and some downs, but this is our first caution for incident on track. We did see Miranda with his problem, but no yellow waved as a result. Miranda is going to restart all the way back in 37th, and maybe could drop some more positions. Parker Blank coming in, Bill Schoonover about a lap down. That won't affect anything, but Miranda, there he is on pit road, getting some more damage repair on his Ford Mustang.
Yeah, and it unfortunately looks like there was a little bit more damage than I initially anticipated off of the right-hand side of that car. Definitely some damage that he is going to need to get repaired probably over the course of the night. Watch for him under yellow to come on into pit lane more than once to get those repairs done, to just try to get it all out and taken care of. But right now, lights are out on the iRacing safety car, and we are about ready to go back to green.
Everybody doubled up. Steven Stepien, your race leader, but going to be flanked by Austin Reedy in the 96, the newcomer to take home second right now as we close in on the end of stage number 1 here in the SimWrapMarket.com 180 from the lady in black. Stepien has been virtually unstoppable. We'll see if anybody can topple him on this next restart and possibly take a stage win away. We saw the absolute craziness that was one of the stage finishes in the NASCAR Cup Series race earlier this afternoon. Could we see some of the same fireworks here for stage 1? Pace car is down and to the entrance of pit road. Steven Stepien with the discretion into the restart zone, and we're back under green from Darlington. Slight problem there for Wilson at the exit of turn 2, just got a little bit loose, chased it down the track, but fortunately keeps that Toyota Camry riding in third on board with the 96 on the rear end. Top 2 have broken away, this time with 8 laps to go until stage 1.
Yeah, and Stepien doing exactly what we said he was going to try to do last time around, just being dominant up at the front of this field, pulling away here at the moment. The real question is going to be, I think, at this point today, does anybody have anything for him? But look at Wyatt Brackett, a great move there. We've got contact in the back, though.
Contact one car into the inside wall. That is Kevin Hurley in the 25. He'll pick his Chevrolet Camaro up. We will stay green. It looked like just a single car incident. He did not go for a spin. He keeps the car righted and no other problems out on the racetrack. You saw that insane pass by Wyatt Brackett to get by Richard Swaley for 7th. He'll be hunting on Ross Harlow, who's now looking on the back bumper of Jesse Whittington at the exit of 2. Harlow with a bit of the draft on the back straightaway. Will he attack for turn 3?
Yeah, he's looking about it. He's thinking about it here at this moment, but he's not going to go for it. Discretion proving the better part of valor as they come. But again, Harlow pushing in that number 5. Going to take that look down to the inside, getting a little bit squirrely as they come off the corner, but able to keep it together. He's going to have another look, but it's still not going to be enough to get it to play.
did not pull the trigger in turn 1. Seems to be the general consensus for everyone. We haven't seen many drivers go side by side at that part of the track. It just seems too risky, too dangerous. Nobody wants to trash their race car, and so the 5 will just look for the next pair of corners to get by that 94. He's got some good momentum and a lot of decent speed here on his throwback, which goes all the way back to a similar driver that we've seen a couple of times tonight, Mark Martin, this time throwing it back to his 1999 Eagle 1 Ford Taurus. The 5 sporting a beautiful paint scheme this evening, a very fast car to couple with it as a 3-car train builds up at the tail end of the top 10. Ray Rogers leading a group of 3, Richard Swavely, Curtis Kelly going at it for position.
Going at it for position here, going to take a little bit of a dive down into the inside here as they work through the corners. And we can really tell here that we're closing in on that stage break here at this moment as it is getting closer and closer to the time that green and white checker flag will fly, and then we will see these drivers make their way back down into pit lane.
And Curtis Kelly, the 71, that Casey Kane throwback, the biggest mover so far this evening, or at least one of those in his respective category. 23rd is where he started this race. He's in 9th. I think the only other consideration would be Alex Muscarella, rolled off the grid 38th. He's up to the top 15. Those will look on board with the number 71 of Curtis Kelly, one of the fast banana cars, and already has a win in season number 6. That came virtue of Atlanta Motor Speedway to kick off the year, but a lot of good speed, DJ, so far for this Chevy Camaro, working on Ray Rogers just a couple of car lengths in front of him.
Yep, just working slowly but surely here, trying to see what he's able to do. Dakota Curtis with a great run. He's going to look down to the inside here on that number 46. Try to send it down to the inside of Joseph Mahar, and he's going to be able to get that move done. Good heads up. That was just a good setup and a good run for to go here. 10, it looks like that number 10 machine that we were talking about, Dakota Curtis, first car on fresh tires, the ones that came in that pit stop cycle.
Yeah, those drivers number 27 on back. Dakota Curtis was one of them, burned off the Goodyear Eagles, and looking to the rear bumper of Logan Sturgeon. That got a big close out at turn 2. Curtis will back out. And that will be one of the things that we'll touch on throughout tonight's race. When you've got fresh tires, everybody else is on old tires around you, you really have to tiptoe. And it's really amplified in some cases, DJ, just because this track is so narrow. You don't have as much space to maneuver. Caution flag will come out. That's for the end of stage number 1. And Steven Stepien leads him through. He has led every single lap tonight, and he has not given it away. The 81 with the stage win.
A dominant stage win as well. He's going to come down into pit lane here, get some fresh rubber on that machine, and then come back out and around. And I don't want to jinx the number 81 here at this point, so knock on your patented Podium Esports block of wood here at this point. But I have not seen anything today that would indicate to me that car is anything but unbeatable.
I am finding every piece of wood to knock on in my room as we speak. I remember what happened last week. Don't think I forgot, as the 81 will pick up the iRacing official pace car. Austin Reedy, Zach Wilson to complete the top 3. Richard Swavely, the last one credited with stage points as he wraps up the top 10. No surprise that the field behind Stepien, including the 81, will come down pit road. Remember, those 27th on back on the last caution had come in, so we're expecting them to stay out. Maybe some of them will come in for a splash of fuel. Nobody looking to stay behind the pace car out on the surface, so everyone coming in. Steven Stepien looking to win the race off the pit lane and continue some of that Darlington domination.
Yeah, he's looking good there as it looks like Travis Stevens, Colin Forrester, and Justin Winters going to be 3 of the drivers that are going to stay out here at this point, including a lot of the drivers like Dakota Curtis, like Gary Sexton that we saw come down into pit lane here at this point on the last time of asking. They're already going to be coming back in, get a little bit more fresh rubber, a little bit more of top up of fuel here as they go. So clearly some alternating strategies. Going to be interesting to see what the likes of Forrester is able to do here at this point.
And so we see Travis Stevens, Colin Forrester among those that are staying out with 13-lap old tires. Race off pit road. We'll go to the 96. Austin Reedy gets in front of the 81 and wins that race, but Stevens holding out at the front of the field. Lap 42, end of stage 1. The SimRapMarket.com 180 continues from Darlington. Don't go anywhere. More on the other side on Podium Esports.
Janice. What got into you?
At Sunoco, we know how to fuel peak performance. We've been doing it for American racing for over 50 years.
Fuller.
Yeah.
Need an F-150 for Smith build.
Got it.
Yesterday.
I know.
Don't forget my BMW.
Gotcha. Check this out. All the major online automotive sites in one place. BMW, done. F-150, done.
How's he do it?
I can search nationwide. Even those classified sites. Auto Tempest, all the cars, one search. That's how I do it.
There is Max Papis in the Ferrari. As great a race as Ferrari has ever won.
Steering wheel for me has always been a sensitive spot. There's a whole experience there that we're all trying to refine. Max Pappas, he asked me one day, he said, what can I do in a wheel? I said, well, with the new wheel.
First stage complete here from Darlington Raceway. We continue our coverage of the Sunoco Cup Series and the SamurRapMarket.com 180 right here on Podium Esports. Travis Stevens, Colin Forrester, those doubled up in row number 1. They took fresh tires on the opening caution for incident on track, but everybody else behind them, for the most part, all on fresh Goodyear Eagles. We'll talk about the driver, though, who's restarting this race inside the top 5, Steven Stepien, who has led every single lap. Last week, I wish we can bring up a voice recording of it, but he said in that post-race interview that he was calling his shot. He was going to win tonight from Darlington. DJ, it seems like that's the case. He's got a fast car tonight, no doubt.
Yeah, he certainly does. He's going to be starting off here, though, in 6th. The first time we've seen him in dirty air. We'll have to see how he responds.
He will restart inside the top 3 rows as Travis Stevens and Colin Forrester will bring us to the green. Pace car is down. Stage 2 from Darlington is underway, and a good start by Stevens. Here comes Colin Forrester charging on the inside. Stevens with a kiss to the outside wall. And here comes Austin Riddy trying to storm in for P2.
And Reedy, the first driver there on those fresh set of Goodyear Eagles. He's going to try to make the run down to the inside, see if he's able to get anything to play on the number 2 here at this point, as it looks like at least for Travis Stevens, opting to stay out here may not have been the best call.
Probably not. He's going to fall back a couple of spots. He'll drop to 4th, but fortunately, with the track as hard to pass as Darlington is, it's going to take a little while before he officially reaches the back of the grid on his set of Goodyear Eagles. Stepien looking on the inside of Justin Winters for P5, and Austin Reedy just currently hounding on the rear end of that 31 for the lead. Stevens getting absolutely swallowed up out of turn 4. Here comes Stevens with a defense here on Stepien for 4th into turn 1.
Yeah, but that's going to be of absolutely no use there. Stepien going to be able to run on by him as if he were standing still. A great run for Stepien to move his way back up into position here, keeping close. Couple of drivers scattering out. Oh, big contact in the back of the field.
Cars around, one of them being Joseph Mohar, and a couple of others getting tagged up in the mess. And caution is out again. That's Kip Easley in number 8 in trouble. Looks like Logan Sturgeon might have also had some problems. He's parked on the back straightaway. And same deal for the 13 of Gary Sexton, who had to slow down for that incident. And we'll see exactly how it all started. And it looked like this train got into chaos from Kip Easley. Got loose at the exit of turn 2, whipped it back to the outside wall, and then came back down on the 46, catching Sturgeon, catching Sexton, and bringing us our biggest crash of the night.
Well, and it really just goes to show you, Kenneth, no matter where you are on this track, no matter how you are running it, this thing can come back to bite you. We're talking about drivers on fresh rubber here at this point and still having a problem with looseness coming off the line. There you see Gary. Oh, the car just absolutely wanted to back out on him there. I think he was able to escape that without contact, though, so that's going to be good running for the 13.
It's just going to be some flat-spotted tires, and we'll try and get another look at it. But for sure, that 8 got loose. It just snapped underneath his feet, and then came back down the track off of the outside wall into the number 46 of Moharn. Catches about 3 or 4 cars and brings us our second caution for a crash on the track. We had our first one earlier between 2 cars, Justin Erb. And now we've got another caution here as Steven Stepien will bring him in from P4 right now. And Steven, I'm bringing up last week. You called your shot. You said you were going to win here at Darlington. You've dominated the first stage. Still working through your field on the fresh tires here after this restart. What's it been like to drive, and how excited are you to finally get back here and race in the Sunoco Cup Series?
Man, I feel pretty good, man. I just love this track. That's the only reason why I called it out last week. This is one of my best performing tracks that I have in the game. So it's plus it holds a special place to me. I love Darlington. I love the old school tracks. So hoping I can get this Kenny Wallace throwback to victory lane. We'll see.
And let's talk about that throwback. You with the only Kenny Wallace throwback, at least as far as I'm concerned, in tonight's race. Walk us through the inspiration behind it and why you wanted to run it tonight.
Yeah, just one of those ones where you don't see too many of, you know what I mean, when people do throwbacks. And I thought this was a clean scheme. I like designing clean schemes, and I thought this was a pretty good looking one. And you know, he drove the 81. Usually I run a Dale Jr. throwback, but we can't do that on a Ford. There's no doing that. That's disrespectful. So Kenny Wallace it is, and I like it. So.
We love it too, for sure. Some beautiful colors on the 0G Ford Mustang tonight. First time you're in traffic. I know you've got Pio, Reedy, and Forster in front of you. What's your plan of attack on the next restart to get by them and get back in that clean air and lead this race again?
Just taking it easy. I was really happy with my tire wear on that last, that first stage. A lot better than what I was doing in practice. So I think I found a little something, and you know, we're just gonna wait for these guys to make some mistakes and take advantage of them. Obviously, we gotta do it quick and decisive because it's hard to pass here. So we'll figure it out.
Well, we know you got a lot of confidence. We're gonna hold that calling your shot claim all night long. Steven, thank you for joining us. Best of luck on the next restart.
I appreciate it, guys.
I'm gonna be saying that all night long, DJ. Stepien said it. He was gonna win this race. He's one of the fastest cars tonight. He's got some traffic to work through as we get to the green flags. I believe lights will be off in a couple of moments, and indeed will be this time by, as far as I'm concerned. Never mind, they're still on, so we are going to be, actually, yes, they're off right now, so we'll be doubling up and heading for the green flag here on lap number 52, and still rolling through the second stage of 3 here in the simwrapmarket.com 180. Couple of cars on pit road to get some damage repair, but it's Colin Forster at the front end. Surprisingly enough, DJ, on the oldest set of tires in this group, he's been running quite well, been able to hold off the 96 of Reedy and even stay in front of everybody else. So Forster doing a nice job of holding on to his Eagles.
Yeah, doing a very, very good job, and that's a little bit counter to what I talked about earlier with Colin, so maybe color me corrected in terms of his ability to hold onto these tires, and certainly the yellow flag here at this point, that's going to help him keep those tire temperatures under control, keep everything together. We'll just have to see if he's able to keep responding here at this point. He needs to do what Stepien did off of that first green flag, just hold on, get a good jump off the restart, and see if he can build a little bit of a gap.
Forster finished in the top 5 at Kansas last week and looking still for his first career Sunoco Cup Series W. Out in front on the restart at lap number 52. Slight push from the 12 of Lawson Peel, but we're back under green. And a good start again by the 31, but can he hold off the 96 in turn 2? It's an almost no, and Reedy is right on the back bumper heading for turn 3 as Stepien looks for 3rd.
Stepien going to try to make that move there on Lawson Peel to be able to hold that out. Got to give credit here to Colin Forster. He is putting up a fight on Austin Reedy, really trying to see what they are able to do. He is not letting Reedy go by this too easily. I love seeing this from Colin Forster.
And Reedy just playing pick and choose right now as he taps the outside wall in the middle of turns 1 and 2. Meanwhile, single file through about your top 5 or so. First side-by-side battle you'll see at around P10. Jesse Whittington, Alex Muscarella going at it. SKM teammates now working on the bottom. The Mark Martin throwback of Warren Kyle Keith going for the inside. Dakota Curtis not too far behind, and a look on board with Curtis, who started tonight in 17th, has worked forward to 13th. It's been a pretty decent outing so far for the Scott Riggs Ford Mustang.
Yeah, it's been a good run here for him at this point. As Colin Forster actually just sets the fastest lap of the race, so fantastic running there for him. As we watch Curtis thinking about trying to close in there on the back of Warren Kyle Keith. Had a little bit of a good one coming off of turn 2, but not going to be able to make that play. We flick our eyes back up to the front of the field, though. Reedy hounding the back of Colin Forster.
But he still cannot find a way by. That's been the biggest note of conversation so far in this run. Ray Rogers underneath Wyatt Brackett. That's going to be settled quickly for P6. And Rogers, like we said at the start of the show, coming off of his best finish of the season at Kansas, where he came home P4, really put up a clutch performance in that last stage of the race. And Rogers looking to double down, if not do a little bit better this time around, as again Reedy stays within at least a car length of that number 31. But you said it there about a lap ago, DJ, that the 31 set the fastest lap out of anybody, and even now not as too much slower than the 96 in company. So the 31, I'm just convinced he didn't even use his tires in that run where he got freshies, was holding on for this moment where he could stay out front and play this defense.
Yeah, he's playing the defense very well. A little bit of a bobble coming off of turn 2. Reedy recognized that, types it down to the inside, and that's going to be a new leader here from Darlington as the number 96 moves their way back up into the top of the running order. Now let's see if Forrester is able to hold on to the back here or how this is going to play.
Now, if we talk about the big bracket challenge, Austin Reedy in the race lead right now. He's edged to go up against Richard Swavely in the 32, who currently is further back in this field in P14. That would advance him to the Sweet 16 of the big bracket challenge next week at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. And so, obviously, talking about the big bracket challenge, we'll keep that in mind for the winner with $200 on the line at Daytona to end the regular season. But Reedy, most importantly, looking for his first win of the campaign, would join Peel, Banks, Adcock, Stempian, Harlow, and Kelly. For those that have only picked up one win so far this season, you look at the entire field flyby heading for turn 1. And look who's coming up on the horizon, DJ Clark. Steven Stempian on that 31 of Forrester.
I was wondering how long this was going to take because, frankly, if I'm honest here, Kenneth, it was a matter of when, not if Stempian was going to be able to get that to go. But he's being smart about this. He could have had a little bit of a look there going into the corner, but he didn't go for it. He wants to get the right run, wants to pass the 31 in a clear fire move here. Good line off the corner, going to take that little bit of a look down to the inside. Doesn't like it here at this point. He's going to stay in line for another couple of corners.
Probably look for the exit of turn 4, possibly for 1 and 2, or maybe even 3 and 4 on the next lap. It's kind of how you have to approach Darlington Racing, as here comes the 81, striking first on the bottom. And Forrester doing the smart thing, just letting him go, not going door to door in the middle of turn 1. That's going to relay in the 12 of Lawson Peel, who's sporting a Ryan Newman throwback. I'd say one of my favorites in tonight's field, the 2006 Mobil 1 Dodge Charger that Peel was throwing back to us. Here comes Ross Harlow on the inside, but Peel with a fantastic scheme. Now, it's not on a Dodge. Dodge doesn't run anymore in NASCAR, but it's not on a Ford either, on a Chevy, so a little bit unique that it's on a different manufacturer, but the scheme with Keebler 1 on it definitely does things justice. It looks amazing. Keebler Alpha, by the way, not Keebler 1. I was thinking Mobil 1 at the same time while saying that.
Just getting a little bit of confused there. It's all good. I knew what you meant, Kenneth. I knew what you meant. Here's Jesse Whittington running back in 10th place right now. Going to try to close in a little bit on the back of Zach Wilson to see if he can get any running on that number 51 machine. It starts to look like we're seeing a little bit more of what we saw earlier on in this race, that after the first couple of laps, this field starts to get very, very single file, as it's all just about management, keeping the tires underneath you and not overdriving the car.
You don't want to overdrive the car. One of those that's also looking to stay cautious is the one right here that you're looking on board with, the 99 of Mario Miranda. We saw him struggle earlier on tonight with a contact to the outside wall after getting loose in turn 2. Looks like still trying to build up a comeback, looking on the inside of what's going to be Gary Sexton here for 25th on track. Now, Miranda was able to repair his entire race car with his trips down the lane. He spent all that time, and now he's able to rip. It's just about getting through traffic, going to be the biggest thing. And even worse so, DJ, when you've got cars side by side in front of you, caution flag is out. It looks like Wyatt Brackett, Ross Harlow involved, and Harlow's parked on the back straightaway.
Oh, you hate to see that for that number 5 machine that looked so good out here today. A fall down through the order here at this point. Disappointment on the face of Ross. You can certainly see that there for the SKM driver.
And it looked like contact out of turn 2 with Lawson Peel. Remember, this was inside the top 5 and all running behind that 31 of Colin Forster. The 12 and the 31 both go door to door in turns 1 and 2. We talk about how dangerous that could be. The 12 checks up just a little bit, the 5 not expecting him to, and just gets into the rear bumper, gets sideways, and whips it back around where he catches the 11 of Ray Rogers. Doesn't look like too much damage for the 5. Not enough to end his day, nor anyone else's. Here's a look from Rogers as he was the innocent bystander in all of this, but certainly a huge hit to what Harlow has been putting up so far tonight. A really good race.
Yeah, very good race. And again, much like that first caution that we saw fly here today, looks like this is an issue of just a checkup coming off the line. The driver getting a little bit squirrely, and the driver behind them not really able to catch the car and slow it down in enough time to make a successful avoidance. That's unfortunately what happened there. There you see as we ride on board, just locking it on down. Good way to be able to get on through.
And Wyatt Brackett finds his way through. Clean Chevy Camaro nose, and saw the car spinning right in front of him. He gets by. Wyatt Brackett currently inside the top 5. Now, we did have a couple of cars come in for pit road service. Obviously, the 5 of Harlow being one of them, Lawson Peel being another. We also did see Warren Kyle Keith, Alex Muscarella, the 2 SKM Chevy Camaros coming in for service. So a pretty split decision here, lap 65. Remember, we are about 15 laps or so into the end of stage number 2, so some interesting decisions at this stage of the race, and possibly looking for that alternative route, gain some track position by the time we get the next restart.
Yeah, I think that's what they're really aiming for here at this point. I think 15 laps, maybe pushing it just a little bit in terms of the running. We'll have to see.
All right, well, a couple of cars on pit road. New race leader in the 96 of Austin Reedy. And Austin, we'll talk about this throwback in just a little bit, but so far your car has been ripping it here at Darlington Raceway. You made that pass for the lead on Colin Forster. What has it felt like to drive this car tonight on these track conditions?
Really slick out here tonight. Got to take care of the right rear a lot more than I was expecting, but we're prepared for it, so just got to hang in here for another 60-some laps, 70 laps, and see what happens.
Solid top 10 finish last week at Kansas, and you look forward to this track, which is so different than anything else on the schedule. Is this for you sort of that oddball where you look like you can take advantage of a track like this and just go all out for your first win of the season, or is it just like business as usual, week by week, try to win every single race?
I think I've got to focus here a little bit more and got to be a little more consistent with everything you do, but definitely going out there with the mindset of trying to win every race, but it's never going to happen. I mean, just maybe get one win out of the season I'll be happy with. So got a long way to go here, so hopefully the McDonald's Chevy can park in victory lane.
We know it's a beautiful scheme, one of 2 McDonald's cars in the field. Talk about it, though. The 2001 Andy Houston throwback. What was the inspiration behind it to run for this evening?
I think we're just trying to find cars that had the 96, and it's hard to find cars with old NASCAR paint schemes that run the 96. So this is one I think one of my buddies found, or it was like a 94. I'm not sure, but we'll try to park in victory lane for Andy Houston tonight.
All right, well, this 96 certainly fast, and some beautiful colors on the Camaro this evening. Austin, we'll let you go. We'll let you get focused for the restart. Best of luck next time by we get the green flag, and thank you for joining us.
All right, thank you, man.
Austin Reedy in the 96 will have the lead on the restart here at lap number 68 of 135. He'll have Steven Stepien, though, to his inside, which DJ poses a fight of the Titans. So far, 2 of the fastest drivers this evening, if you don't count Miranda, even though he had that mistake at the exit of turn 2. How can Steven Stepien find his way by Reedy here? We know he's got a lot of pace.
I think it's going to be patience. I think that's going to be the name of the game here. I haven't seen anything to indicate that a driver starting down to the inside here is going to get the jump off of the restart. And so I think for Steven, if he wants to get back into the lead here, he's just got to be patient, hold up in the tire tracks of the 96, and then push ahead.
We'll see what that Square D Ford Mustang can do at a turn 4. Pace cars at the entrance of pit road. Austin Reedy has the control on the restart. He gets a good jump for the start-finish line. We're back under green as Ray Rogers fills the top side on Steven Stepien into turn 1.
Well, that was not what I was expecting whatsoever. Rogers pushing to the outside. Stepien just looked like he got caught a little bit napping. And don't look now, Colin Forrester even thinking about a move on the former leader.
The 31 trying to look on the bottom. He ducks out. Zach Wilson in the background looking on the inside of Curtis Kelly for P6. Still single file through your top 5. And Reedy looking to just pull away. He's got a couple of car lengths on Ray Rogers, almost a full half second. Still looking at that battle between the 51 and the 71. Kelly gonna back out. Zach Wilson finds his way into P6.
And here's Jesse Whittington in that 8th place, number 94 right now, trying to take that look on Kelly up ahead of him in that number 71. Just slowly but surely working around there. A little bit of a scratch of the nose. Want to make sure you stay nice and comfortable. That's always one of the things that you got to talk about when you talk about racing. But we got another yellow out on the track.
Trouble out on the racing surface, and a big one. Justin Winters, Kip Easley, and it appears Dustin Reeves all collected in an incident. Winters going hard into the inside wall. And it looks like that might spell the end of the Dale Jr. Throwbacks day. And it all started with Dustin Reeves in a fight with Warren Kyle Keith near the back of the field. We talked about that 24 hitting pit road on the last caution. There's that 6 getting out of line, coming back up the track and slamming into that 88 who comes hard into the inside wall and packs in the 8 car of Kip Easley.
Yeah, and you could really get the sense there. He tried to lock that car down as much as possible. As we watch from another angle, the 6 coming off the corner here. Car just gets a little bit squirrely coming off of the line, tries to catch it. You see him there just putting the wheel in, trying to make sure it comes back around, and unfortunately just ran out of space.
And it's one thing as well, DJ, about these next-gen cars where they handle so much differently than any other stock car on the iRacing service. And we'll look on board with Lawson Field, who had a good look at this. A couple of cars behind the 6 cars. Trouble, but you'll see him. He gets loose here. He catches it. And in any other car, it might have gone very differently. But with this next-gen car, it just carries all that momentum. The car steers and weight shifts to the other direction. You really have nothing to do. You're just a passenger at that point, and Dustin Reeves couldn't control it by the time he had overcorrected it.
Yeah, and that's really the problem there. The momentum in this car, the weight transfer as it goes, it's just really, really hard to lock down. And you've got to give credit there to be able to hold it as long as he did. That could have been a lot worse of an incident as they go. But it looks like you are standing by here, Kenneth, with another one of our drivers.
Yes, sir, indeed. The second McDonald's throwback tonight alongside Austin Reedy. This is for Bill Elliott, but this is the 94 of Jesse Whittington, who joined us now. First of all, welcome, Jesse, and I know this is an exciting week, throwback week for your SheriffStrafe.com Chevy Camaro. What's it been like, though, to drive on track over the first 2 stages?
It's been wild. I've been doing a lot of tire conservation, just trying to play it smart. I'm going to have plenty of tires left in stage 3, and if these cautions keep dropping like this, then that could play into my favor. But it's been wild, just trying to keep it out of the wall, trying to not get loose on the exit of the corner. It's been one thing after another.
No doubt, certainly has been tough racing against the track, but you find yourself in the middle of traffic. You're racing against a lot of the other drivers in this group as well. So how has that been, the adjustment-wise, to get around them and to find a way to keep out of trouble with them while also staying on track without any scratches?
At that point, it's just trying to be smart about racing who you're with. Like, you know, if you enter the corner below someone, do not wash up into them. If somebody enters below you, give them plenty of space. Like, you don't have a lot of room to really truly make moves out here. So the difficult thing is just trying to be smart with who you're around, taking what you can without forcing anything. And that's the way I've been looking at it tonight, at least.
All right, let's talk throwback time. The 94, the McDonald's paint scheme. Just give us the idea of the inspiration and what went behind the decision to go with the Bill Elliott scheme.
To be completely honest, last season I had a bunch of people mad at me that I did not go with a Bill Elliott throwback. So I trusted what everybody in the league was saying, and I was trying to be, just trying to have fun with it, trying to find something that would match the Sheriff Strafe colors, and that's kind of just basically how it went about.
Well, nonetheless, I mean, beautiful colors. It looks really good on track. I know you're starting here inside the top 10. It's been a beautiful run as well to couple with it. So, Jesse, we'll let you get settled. We'll let you focus on the next restart. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. And don't forget to visit sheriffstrafe.com if you want to try to find some merch like this. It's really comfortable. Thank you, guys.
All right, Jesse Whittington starting in P8 on the next restart here for lap number 74 of 135. We are about halfway through tonight's simwrapmarket.com 180. And funny enough, this is kind of the same situation as stage number 1. We had a caution with around 10 laps to go in the stage. So this is somewhat of a mad dash to get some playoff points in this lap. Austin Reedy, the leader. Ray Rogers on the outside of row number 1. Steven Stempien, the one we've been eyeing so far, behind your leader in row number 2. Green flag back in the air. Solid start for the 96 of Austin Reedy. And we are once again door-to-door for second. Rogers looking to face Stempien into turns 1 and 2.
Yeah, Steven's going to try to push down on the inside there, but I think Rogers is going to be able to hold the momentum, and watch out for Colin Forrester here. Oh, no, I take that back. Watch out for Stempien, able to get a great run off of the line. We've got one car up into the wall there farther in the back. I don't think that's going to throw out the yellow, but this is where our eyes have got to be, the battle between Rogers and Stempien.
Car sideways, we saw the 30 of Wyatt Brackett step out of line at the exit of 2, keeps that car straight. We're still under green. Curtis Kelly look on the inside of Jesse Whittington, but meanwhile, Zach Wilson has found his way under the 31 of Forrester. They get real close to 31, hits the outside wall in the middle of 1 and 2. They'll stay side by side. Forrester wins that fight for P4 as we look on board with Curtis Kelly, who started 23rd and eyeing in on this single file train of cars.
Trying to be able to close in here at this point is Curtis Kelly. That is Whittington right up ahead, who we just talked to. Looks like Kelly's got a pretty good run off the corner. Is he going to try to send it down to the inside? No, he's going to stay in line here at this point. Discretion proving the better part of valor for the moment for the 71.
And just staying careful as you watch the gap up the road at the exit of 2. That's where Steven Stempien is compared to the 96. A total of 0.7 of a second. Door opens here for the 94. Going to take the outside on Wilson's mistake. And just kind of slap the outside wall at the exit of turn 2. And now going to be side by side. It looks like Whittington might win it, but for the moment, the 51 will hang tight. The 71 just picking and choosing the lane, wants to hang back before things can get much worse. 51 gets in the 94, but a contact.
Oh, a little bit of contact there, but we're going to stay clean and green. Almost getting up again there as they run. This is starting to get a little bit scrappy as we close down with about 3 laps to go here in the second stage.
Again, what I was asking you, Whittington, before we went green about keeping yourself careful with the competition around you while also racing the track. The 71 hits the outside wall in turn 3. He'll back out against the 51. He'll settle in his 7th, and our first side-by-side battle throughout the top 10 now settles through, and you have to look back to around P17 where Miranda continues his surge through the field. On board with Alex Muscarella, who started tonight 38th in this race and has taken this Jimmy Johnson Lowe's SeaWorld 2006 throwback up to the top 20, looking underneath the number 16 of Garrett Brown. And Miranda will eye on him all night long because he is still gaining positions and he has still put his head down regardless of what happened to him earlier in the race.
Well, it's a little bit of same story, different week here for Mario Miranda. We saw him fall down through the field last time out of Kansas. Now he's rising back up through the field here at this point, running an absolutely fantastic run is the number 99. Just trying to gain everything they can do here at this point as we continue to close down. Stage break coming in about 3 laps.
We'll see who might win that fight, but it looks like Reedy is staying strong at about 0.6 of a second. Zach Wilson here in the 51. We see him behind Jesse Whittington. We saw him side by side with Curtis Kelly. Caution will come out for the stage, and this time it's the 96. Austin Reedy stays out in front, and the McDonald's Andy Houston throwback gets to the W in stage number 2.
That's going to be a huge boost there for Reedy to be able to do that. The one concern he's going to have is Stempien is going to be right behind him, and we could see another battle down pit lane. So I've got to imagine the entire field is going to be coming in to get a fresh set of Goodyears at this run.
And should be it. Austin Reedy going to pick up the iRacing official pace car. Should be on the back straightaway. Stepien in second, Rogers in third, Colin Forrester fourth, Jesse Whittington fifth, and then goes Wilson, Kelly, Shoemaker, Brackett, and Austin Shoemaker. So nice to see the two Shoemakers that we talked to before we got the green get some stage points here at lap number 80. So DJ, you said it there. Probably the call is going to be 4 fresh tires, fuel to make it to the last stage, but now you get into the longest stretch of the race, 55 laps. What have you learned from stages 1 and 2 that can help you in the final one and to bring you home?
It's all about tire wear. That is what it has got to be. You have got to drive conservatively here early on in the stint. Don't burn up these Goodyear Eagles too early, or you're going to find yourself in a whole world of trouble. I think you need to plan as if you are coming to a full green flag run. That's the way you've got to go.
So the entire field will come in led by Austin Reedy, but the 2 that will stay out make that almost 3, and maybe even more. Going to be Alex Muscarella in the 48, Ross Harlow in the 5, and Warren Kyle Keith in the 24. All of them taking stops around 17 laps to go. They're going to be joined by Logan Sturgeon and Lawson Peel. And so that's going to be an interesting stretch of drivers to get through if you're Stepien and company. 4 fresh tires for everyone on the stall. The 96 coming out first. The 81's going to win. So a bit of revenge from the last stage stop. Stepien wins the fight off of pit road, but they will all chase the SeaWorld number 48, Alex Muscarella, leading this race as we continue the SimWrapMarket.com 180 from Darlington on Podium Esports.
What got into you?
At Sunoco, we know how to fuel peak performance. We've been doing it for American racing for over 50 years. Fuel your best.
Fuller.
Yeah.
Needed F-150 for Smith build.
Got it.
Yesterday.
I know.
Don't forget my BMW.
Gotcha. Check this out. All the major online automotive sites in one place. BMW, done. F-150, done.
How's he do it?
I can search nationwide, even those classified sites. Auto Tempest, all the cars, one search. That's how I do it.
What I'm really proud is that I own MPI, the steering wheel company, and I'm building the steering wheel. This is my creation.
This is yours?
Yes.
It's sexy.
The steering wheel, it's a very unique thing. It's shaped on the hand of Scott Dixon.
His hand.
Yeah. This grip has 27% more grip feel than suede. Scott in the race is gonna make less effort when he drives. When you're in the car, it's like lifting, it's like having 40-pound dumbbell like this, maybe more in the car.
For how long?
3.5 hours. You know, average heart rate in the car, never below 150. Never below 150. You need to be a real athlete to drive. Yeah. They exercise every day. So this is my creation.
Amazing.
And we did.
Welcome back to Podium Esports' coverage of the SimWrapMarket.com 180 from the virtual Darlington Raceway. We continue race number 9 of Season 6 of the Sunoco Cup Series. Let's bring in quickly your leader, Alex Muscarella, who stays out on the stage break. Alex, what went behind the call, and what's your gut feeling now on the restart?
I'm probably screwed, but I'm going to do my best. I've had a terrible season, so I'm trying to do anything I can, really.
Well, we like it. Alternative call, and you're the biggest mover so far from 38th. Best of luck on the restart, Alex.
Thank you.
Quick word with the Lowe's SeaWorld throwback with Jimmy Johnson from 2006. He's got the top side on the restart. Ross Harlow on the inside in second. It looks like Logan Sturgeon, Warren and Kyle Keith going to give support in row number 2, 3rd, and 4th. Pace car is down. The 48 going to be on discretion. He hops on the gas pedal, and we're back under green from Darlington Raceway. Ross Harlow clear for P2. Warren, Kyle Keith, and Logan Sturgeon going to tussle for 3rd, and some contact.
Little bit of banging and bumping, a little bit of bumping and banging as they came down into turn one, but somehow everybody's going to stay clean and green here at this point as they fan out. Oh, big car down to the inside, contact on the inside wall. I think that's Ryan Kendall.
Huge hit for Ryan Kendall. He noses it into the inside safer barrier, and somehow we're gonna stay green. And that number 68 just parked it on the back straightaway, has towed it. His race from Darlington might be over. First side-by-side battle, Steven Stepien and Sturgeon for P5. Stepien finds his way through in turns 1 and 2.
And this is exactly what I thought Steven was going to be doing here at this point. This is an absolute buffet here for Steven Stepien. Drivers just making contact behind.
Shoemaker into the inside wall, the 4-car in trouble. Wyatt Brackett might have gotten into him, and the caution is somehow not out. Now it is. Race control has thrown it, and the 4-car in trouble on the back straightaway.
Yeah, that was a big ka-thunk down into the inside barriers there. As you see him leaning on the drivers as they come out of the corner right now. Before it comes off the line, makes contact there, and I think just a little bit of a hook coming down the back straightaway.
Yeah, that 4-car made the mistake, got into the wall, and he was way high in turn 2. That was about going to hit the safer barrier, and he did. And that 30-car was just there at that point. They make some slight contact at first, and they keep it straight, but it's the second bit of contact that's going to set this whole thing off. Here's the first bit right there, no problem. Second time is where that 4 officially gets hooked, and that is, DJ, I think the hardest hit that we've seen all night long. Toe length is ripped off, and that 4-car going to have an absolute limp back to pit road.
Yeah, that's not going to be an easy one to get back from there, and I think for Shoemaker, he's going to find himself in a very, very tough run. Very strange, though. We frankly didn't see the yellow get thrown here at this point. Not entirely what I would have expected from these runners, but the good news here for Alex Muscarella is going to maintain the lead up at the top of this field. Steven Stepien in 5th place, the first of your drivers that came down in to get a fresh set of tires.
So the one staying out still reaping the benefits of track position as they hold on to the lead. Caution out with about 48 laps to go. A reminder that our coverage of the Sunoco Cup Series on Podium Esports is brought to you by sksimracing.com. They've been a proud sponsor of the Sunoco Cup Series for very long, has their own race team with Judd Danielson, Sean Kalis and company, and they have been supporting this series for a very long time. And to check out all of what they offer, you can head to sksimracing.com for more information. Here's one of the SK Sim Racing Ford Mustangs on display. That is the 43 of Sean Kalis. He does not have a throwback tonight from Darlington, but has been riding around in P24. His teammate Judd Danielson currently running higher up on the grid in P13. So a pretty decent outing for SK Sim Racing, and a lot of time as well, DJ, to make things happen. There's a look at the 85 as he rolls in the top 15 and currently behind the 14 of Shoemaker, who we talked to before the green.
Yeah, there we see them working their way around. Definitely one to keep an eye on here. Unfortunate, obviously, for the other Shoemaker that he was going to have any problem there, but we're going to bring our way back around. Looks like the lights are still on the iRacing safety car here at this point as they bring it their way through. Just trying to keep everything together here at this point. And I think for a lot of these drivers up at the front, Muscarella, Harlow, Peel, Keith, they're hoping for as many yellows as possible. For the likes of Steven Stepien, though, he wants this thing to reign green as long as it can go.
That's definitely true. It's been a struggle for Stepien to get to the front of the field like he was in stage 1 to dominate, but nonetheless, his car is super quick, so we know he's going to be able to chop through track position. It's just a matter of when he could do it and whether the race pans out in his favor. Now, we've talked about so many of the throwbacks here tonight from Darlington. One of them is the number 78 of Dakota Wilson, who I believe I don't see him on the charts. I saw him in practice, so I'm sure he was here, but nonetheless, it looks like he is not, as a couple of cars are not going to double file here for the 1 to green on the next restart. But that was a throwback to his own 2007 dirt car. But if we're going to talk about another throwback, let's talk about, I'm going to look through the list here and see exactly who we haven't hit yet. Let's go to the 31, Colin Forrester. He ended up choosing the number 31 with Neil Bonnet's 1993 Goodwrench Chevrolet Lumina. Of course, rest in peace to Neil Bonnet, a great driver, a great personality in the NASCAR Cup Series back in the 90s, but a scheme that I don't think many people know all too well, DJ, and that 31 doing a nice throwback on his Chevy Camaro tonight and doing good by it, running well inside the top 10.
Yeah, certainly running well, and I'll tell you what here, Kenneth, that was one that I had to look up. I'm not ashamed to admit it. I was a little bit surprised to see that, and I had to look it up for myself to make sure I knew what it was.
You know, most of the time when you look at 31s, you look at maybe Jeff Burton's car when he ran them in the 2000s. You could look at Ryan Newman when he ran that 31 for a while. You can even look all the way back to when the 31s ran with Lowe's colors before Jimmy Johnson picked it up in 2002. But with Neil Bonnet's 1993 Goodwrench car, you barely see it on the iRacing service and even in real life. So a great throwback to Neil Bonnet for Colin Forrester. Green flag back in the air with 45 laps to go. Muscarella with a push by his teammate into turn 1.
All right, a little bit of updraft in there going on, a little bit of team communication. Love to see that, and that's going to allow for Muscarella to pull himself out into the lead here at this point. A lot of too wide farther back through the field. Little bit of sketchiness coming off the corner. Somebody brushing the wall there behind, but we're able to stay clean here as we dive down into 3.
Looks like side-by-side action, the 12 and the 24. Going at it for P3 as Ross Harlow has settled himself into second. Remember, he had pitted with the 48 and the 24 and a couple of others around a couple of cautions ago, and that has led them to where they are right now. That 24 wins that fight for P3, and Steven Stempien hanging in the middle of this pack, trying to find his footing as they go side-by-side further back. Austin Shoemaker, Kevin Hurley tussling for 11th.
Yeah, they're duking it out there a little bit. By the way, we're getting a report that that car that we saw hit the wall big time was Jesse Whittington coming off in turn 2. A little bit of side-by-side right here as we now ride on board with Super Mario. Mario Miranda moving his way back up through the field, finds himself in 15th. You've got to constantly keep your eye on this car. We got 43 laps to go, and just about anything is possible for him.
He's got some time, and with the amount of cautions that we've seen under green, that 99 could find himself back to the front. He's got a quick Ford Mustang. He just hasn't been able to make full use of it, being stuck in traffic all race long. Speaking of traffic, it's a jam around the top 3 on back. The 24 ending up in a fight against the 12, who makes the dive into turn 1 and makes that pass and hits the outside wall.
And that's that slide job that I was talking about that we were going to see get thrown here at some point, but Lawson Peel not waiting around. And I think, oh, is he going to split the difference here with Steven Stempien? No, he's going to give a little bit of an updraft there to Lawson Peel as they come down into the corner. Stempien doing exactly what I think he needs to do here at this point. All these drivers, oh, big slide there coming down to the inside for Warren Kyle Keith.
What a save by Warren Kyle Keith. Knocked it off of the 81 in 3 and 4, chased it down the hill. He keeps the car straight, but he loses all types of track position. He'll drop to 13, and right in front of that mellow yellow Ford Mustang in Mario Miranda, Steven Stempien has been on a mission. He looks forward to Lawson Peels. A block sent by Warren Kyle Keith in the background. Gary Sexton eyeing in on a side-by-side battle for 10th. Logan Sturgeon, Austin Shoemaker, contact, big crash near the back, and multiple involved. One of them is Miranda.
Oh, no, Mario having the curse coming back to strike him here. There is that 99 down to the inside, and that car does not look healthy.
Second time we see that 99 battered and bruised, and it starts right here. A block sent by the 24. Miranda just dove it in a little too late on that car in front of him, made contact, and he dives down the track. Wyatt Brackett, Danielson, Curtis among those involved.
Yeah, big incident there coming off at turn 4. And unfortunately for Mario, he came to rest after the pit lane entry line, so he's not even able to jump back down into pit lane. But yeah, just some hard battle in there, maybe a little bit of a hook, but oh man, just a tough run here. Mario, one of the stories that I was going to be most excited to follow here. But I'll tell you what story's going to develop right now, Kenneth, and that's the fact that we've got a lot of takers coming down into pit lane.
We do, and there was a mistake there by Parker Bland. Got sideways before the pit road entry. Here's a look from Justin Urban, the 20. A better perspective of what happened in front. There's the smoke billowing out of the 99, the 30, and those others that got caught up in it. And Herb, the unfortunate contact near the end of that crash, and knocks down the right front. As we said, Parker Bland went for a spin before pit road, gets it settled through, and a majority of the field have come in for service. One of those, the 94 of Jesse Whittington that we saw hit the outside wall in that last green flag stretch. So there's a look at all the drivers that have stayed out, DJ, and it's starting to dwindle by the minute. And you talked about it at the top of the show, attrition being so key at a track like Darlington. And now that we're seeing a lot of the trouble arise late in stage number 3, it's probably going to end up looking like this. Those that stay out are going to be minimal. Those that come in for damage repair or any other factor will be the majority.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the call here, that you're going to see drivers wanting to keep the fresh rubber on this car as much as possible. And for Alex Muscarella here at this point, we heard him say in that little interview with us that he basically said he thought this was a bad idea to stay out, but he's committing to it. And I think that's what you've got to do here at this point, especially with the fact that we now have a three different types of strategy here. We've got Muscarella and Harlow. They're out on 64. They came in on lap 64. They're trying to stretch this as long as possible. Then the likes of Forrester, Reedy, Wilson, Hurley, they all came in at the last time of asking. They came in on that stage break. And then you've got the other drivers like Sexton, Stempian, Banks, Curtis, Swavely. They all came in on this pit stop. So 3 different strategies playing themselves out here. This is going to be really interesting to see how this pans out.
Yeah, that's for sure. And tires are also going to matter too near the end of the race. One of the drivers at the front as it stands is rookie driver Colin Forrester in the 31, who joined us now. And Colin, you've had a pretty up and down race. Very quick Neil Bonnet throwback that we just talked about on the last yellow. First of all, just walk us through this throwback and what went behind the design to bring Neil Bonnet's 31 to life in the Sunoco Cup Series.
You know, honestly, not much went behind the design. I just kind of looked up some of the drivers who ran this paint scheme, figured a Neil Bonnet paint scheme would be pretty cool. That's a unique paint scheme. You don't really see many people throwing back to him. So, also, I just like the way he is, and it's just a good driver overall.
It's a gorgeous throwback here in the 31. I want to talk now race specifics. You've stayed out here. You've been on an alternate strategy. You're on the freshest tires out of anyone in the top 3. You have better tires than Harlow and Muscarella. How's your strategy fanning out here in the next 37 laps, and how are you going to try to mold this into your first career Sunoco Cup Series win?
I'm definitely surprised that Stempian pit there, since he's pit with me and Austin and all those guys. But it's looking good here as long as I can get around Muscarella and Harlow here, and hopefully we don't have any more cautions. But I don't really know how well my long run speed is, but it's going to be a battle to the end.
All right, we're going to put your head down here for this next restart. Best of luck. Thank you for joining us.
Appreciate it.
Colin Forrester in that 31, rolling off in 3rd in row number 2. He is winning that fight, by the way, against Austin Shoemaker for the Big Bracket Challenge all the way in the round of 32. I think the 10 seed in his mark, as we talk about the March Madness-esque of the Big Bracket Challenge, they do have seeding as well. Pace cars down. Alex Muscarella leading us back to green at lap 100 with 36 laps to go.
Good start there for Muscarella. That's the storyline that we've seen. If you are up in the lead of this race, drop the green flag, you're going to be able to pull away. A little bit of side-by-side between Forrester and Reedy as they come down through the corner. Slow car coming out of pit lane there at this point. It's still going to be side-by-side there, back for 3rd place. Fanning out behind. Gotta watch out for that slow car, just barely avoiding.
They were about 3 wide near the mid-pack of the field. That 31 got trapped on the bottom and then went the 96, then went the 51. And that 31 still trapped on the bottom. This time the 25 of Kevin Hurley going to give him some pressure on the outside. And the first time we see Hurley into the top 5 with that Ken Schrader throwback. The 25 moves on through at the exit of turn 2. 31 going to settle in P6 as they're all single file back through the field. A bit of looseness out of the second corner, but for the most part, clean action. First side-by-side battle. Lawson Peel, Austin Shoemaker, those fighting for 9th.
Yeah, we ride on board here with Joe Mahar a little bit farther back down into the field, running in 11th, right behind Peel and Shoemaker. They've settled themselves out here at this point as that Keebler Elf livery up ahead. I love that, by the way. There's nothing better than a good racing pun, and I think that's hilarious. So we do see that playing out. A little bit of an offensive move, though, for Lawson Peel. Going to move down to the inside of the 14.
Huge slide on the 14. It's going to work in 3 and 4 and almost caught a 2 for 1 and almost about had Logan Sturgeon on pins and needles. He's going to get to the inside, though, at the exit of turn 4. Look forward at the battle for 2nd. Reedy on the inside of Ross Harlow and can't quite do it. Crash in the back. Wide bracket, Parker Bland.
Yellow, yellow, yellow with 33 laps to go. And there you see that number 33 line prone across the track.
And it was a hook out of the exit of turn 4 between the 18 and the 30. Here's a look at it in a 3 and 4 and them racing aggressively. And I think, DJ, the one thing that we can notice here from Darlington is that the aggression is certainly turned up in the last stage of this race. Drivers are more comfortable with making contact with each other and just diving in for bonsai moves in the corners. And just looks like the 18 out of 4, I think, got loose, chased it down the track, and the 30 just got right reared after that.
Yeah, and there may have been a little bit of air in between those cars, unfortunately, so maybe that dreaded net coat coming back to bite here a little bit, but definitely the 18 sliding down the track as it got loose there, just trying to hold it underneath, and Judd Danielson having the perfect view to all of that.
And Judd Danielson able to get by. Caution flag again with around 32 laps to go. So the field again under rest from the iRacing official pace car. And what an event it has been for Alex Muscarella. Started this race in 38th. I think did not put up a qualifying time. Was one of those that didn't even put anything on the board or had mistakes in the first 2 laps. But he has done a phenomenal job of moving up through the field and making the best use of strategy. And when we talked to him under caution, he said, I haven't been having that great of a season. I'm just going to do something alternatively, which at this stage of the regular season, DJ, has to be necessary if you're one of those guys who's beneath the top 20, you're not doing well in the point standings. A night like this could turn things around, and it's only one win. Only one race will define you as a winner and will put you into the playoffs. So Muscarella making use of the opportunity, and even under green has been so quick, nobody's been able to beat him.
No, nobody's really been able to come close to him here at this point under green. Now, the question's going to be is if we continue to have a little bit of a long green flag run, how is that going to play out for him? I am a little bit concerned that if we get a long green flag run here for these drivers that we're really going to see the likes of Muscarella and Harlow start to fall back through the field a little bit. But at the moment, he is doing exactly what he needs to do. And with the frequency of yellows that we're seeing, he's looking in great position here to be able to hold on to this and just keep himself ahead.
Yeah, that's true. You're going to eye in on guys like Lawson Peel, Steven Stempian, those leading the brigade on fresh tire cars, because you talked about it under the last yellow, DJ, that we've got basically 3 different strategies unfolding here in the last 30 laps of this race. So you've got a lot to look forward to if you're Muscarella in clean air. You're leading this race, cautions are coming out, you hold your track position, but also a lot of things you have to be mindful of, those that are on fresh tires and what may happen for the rest of the race. Are your tires going to start to hit a cliff? Are they going to start to give out? And how is that all going to unravel in the last leg? Now, Peel has moved up to 8th, so that's the highest driver on fresh tires that we see so far. Stempian has struggled just a little bit to gain track position. He's mired back in 11th, but they're slowly but surely knifing their way through this field. So things are going to start to get a little chippy here. 30 laps to go, cautions come out. If these guys stay out because they want to stay up front, Peel and company are going to have to work much harder, and that could involve some fireworks, some explosions, and I don't know what may happen after.
Yeah, I'm not sure either here at this point, but we've seen plenty of good racing and close racing as things go along. But with 30 laps to go, rest assured that we up here in the booth aren't the only one keeping an eye on that. These drivers know exactly what is at stake. They know what's coming down to the line here. And as you said, picking up a win here at Darlington, it's not just the points, it's not just the bragging rights that you're going to be able to get. It is going to be absolutely fantastic. They want to be able to get this win. They want to be able to lock themselves down into the playoffs.
And a good point there as well, too, where the drivers are noting strategy. They've got teammates, too, around the field. So if you've got a 4-3 car, and maybe sometimes a 2-car operation on a team, you can talk to them in the voice chats and be like, hey, what's going on back there? How are things looking with strategy with those guys who took fresh tires? And you can take notes and you can get an overall feel of the atmosphere, see exactly how you're going to plan your next action for the rest of this race. And for Muscarella, this would be big. It would be his first win of the season, his first win in a while. Ross Harlow, though, on the other side of things, he's looking for win number 2 on the season after picking one up at Richmond. Zach Wilson in the same boat as Muscarella, looking for that first win of the campaign. Austin Reedy also on win number 1 at stake for him. Kevin Hurley in the boat. Colin Forrester is a rookie driver. Curtis Kelly looking for win number 2, and then Lawson Peel. And then look at the rest of the order. It's sort of a mismatch between those who have found victory lane and those who are looking for second, some who are looking for their first. Nonetheless, that 48 will lead us through to 28 laps to go from Darlington Raceway. Pace car is down. That 48 once again chooses the outside lane. He's got support from the 51 of Zach Wilson. Green flag in the air, and a decent start by the 48, but might be an even better one out of the 5 of Harlow. Door to door for the lead in turn 1.
And that's the first time that we've seen that low line actually be able to challenge off of the restart here at this point. But don't look now, Zach Wilson and Harlow trying to make that work there. They're finally going to get themselves out into single file order. A little bit of a fan out there in the back as they try to push their way through. Colin Forrester running a little bit too wide. Almost contact up in front of the field.
A sketchy exit out of turn 2, almost caught multiple drivers into the outside wall. That 31 flirts with it at the exit of 4. Harlow is right on the back bumper of the 48, back to the first corner, and they are bringing that 51 with them. It is becoming a trio of cars fighting for the lead inside the final 27 laps. A good exit by Harlow, poor exit by Reedy, side by side for P5.
Here they go. We take a look on board here with Zach Wilson, just calmly watching everything play out in front of him. Doesn't, I think, want to get too involved in this action. Just wants to keep it together. Maybe now have a little bit of a bite at the apple on the number 5. Is Wilson going to fade down to the inside? No, he's going to stay in line.
He'll stay back in turn 1. That 96 will kiss the outside wall. Here comes the 12 with a possible challenge for P4. He'll hold back. The 48 breaks free into turn 2, and here comes Harlow for the race lead.
He's going to have the move down to the inside. Is he going to be able to get it done? No, we've got another yellow on the track.
I think Harlow might have taken the lead as the yellow flew. Judd Danielson, Austin Shoemaker appear to be those with a problem. And that will bring out the yellow. And indeed so, both of them are the result of this most recent caution at lap number 111. DJ, what happened here?
Well, as we watch it coming down through the corner side by side, a little bit of contact coming off the line and a little bit of a pinch coming up into the wall there for Shoemaker. Just kind of nowhere to go as that car wanted to step out on him. Got to feel a little bit bad there about that, as that was kind of an unavoidable situation there for the drivers.
Yeah, that's true. And again, talk about the sketchy exit of turn 2, especially when you're side by side. Here's a look on the rear end of Kip Easley. 14 just slides up a little too much into that 85, and once you catch that hook, you guys are basically parked on the outside wall. There's nothing you could do but just hold on to the brakes and pray that it ends sooner than you would expect. There's when the caution came out. Ross Harlow, though, made that pivotal pass for the lead. He's staying out, but DJ, there are many that are coming in. Austin Reedy is leading a charge of a couple of those that are taking service now.
And to me, the big driver that I've got to keep an eye on here as coming down into pit lane, the one that I'm most interested in, Colin Forrester. That is the driver that we said he's got great short run pace, and by coming down into the pits here, he's going to ensure that he's going to have nothing but short run pace. Let's see how he's able to pull this out.
Yeah, that's right. Great point. He's been so fast from lap 1 to lap 10 on a run. 31's going to come out with the 48 and the 96. And one of those two stay put on the track. Your leader now, the 5 of Ross Harlow, who came off of a top 3 finish at Kansas last week and currently holding down the fort here at Darlington right now. Harlow, I know that you've been a previous winner here at Darlington before. You've been watching strategy, though, in these final 24 laps. You stayed out here. What was the reason behind the call, and what's your reaction to those that came in?
I don't know. I mean, there's enough guys coming down here. I really just can't justify giving up the track position. The tires are still too good, and you know, it's the clean air is so powerful here. It really makes a massive difference as far as you know, keeping the speed in the race car. So yeah, I mean, you know, we figured we'd split it. Alex went down, got some tires. I stayed out, saw if I could kind of hold on to some track position. You know, he was starting to fight a tight race car, so I'm still feeling good. You know, it's going to be a good time here at the end. Just got to try to hold Zach and, well, the field off.
It's going to be a lot of fighting for sure. Even just coupling with the fact that you've got to fight the track all night long. And your pass there for the race lead on Alex Muscarella, how was that to get by? Was it a methodical way to get around, or you just found the right opportunity and you just went for it?
It was kind of methodical. It seemed like he wasn't quite carrying the speed that I expected him to carry there. And he, you know, said after the flag came out that he was starting to fight tight. So, yeah, it was just, you know, kind of wait, ride around, be patient, take care of the tires, and, you know, wait for that opportunity. If he had been able, you know, if he had been maintaining speed, I'd have just rode behind him, but he was starting to fall off, and I had Zach, you know, sniffing my exhaust fumes, so.
Well, nonetheless, you're holding the lead here with 22 laps to go. Let's talk about the throwback and one of the many monsoon of Mark Martin paint schemes tonight. This one, I love the colors, the Eagle one here. What was the decision behind the scheme, your inspiration, and how you feel kind of indulging in the throwback theme this evening?
Well, this is, I mean, I love the throwback stuff, first off. You know, it's just pure nostalgia, right? You know, especially at a track like Darlington. There's no better place to do it. But, yeah, you know, it's one of my favorite paint schemes ever to be on the track. All of his Eagle 1 schemes were beautiful, but one of my favorite if not my favorite driver, and my favorite scheme for him. So, you know, just had to go for it.
Looking to bring the Mark Martin colors to victory lane, and a lot of work to do here with 22 laps to go. Ross, thank you so much for joining us. Best of luck on the green flag restart.
Thank you, Kenneth.
That's Ross Harlow in the 5. Remember, a former winner here at Darlington back in Season 4 in January of last year. Also to note, end-of-line penalty for the 75 of Charles Phelps. He will be at the end of the longest line for the green flag. Pace car will make its way down into crunch time. Here at the Lady in Black, the 5 of Harlow, the 51 of Zach Wilson, and everyone else. We saw a couple of those come in for pit stops on the yellow. We'll see where they fare if we stay green. Ross Harlow takes the gas pedal, brings us to the restart with 21 laps to go.
All right, here they go, and it looks like Harlow has got a great jump on the rest of the field. A little bit of too wide action. We've already got another yellow.
Alex Muscarella getting turned by Logan Sturgeon, but not the only problem. Kevin Hurley. It looks like another car parked at the apron. That's Kip Easley in the 8 car. And the caution out again. Quickly, before we get out of the first pair of corners, it started with Wyatt Brackett, who got into Kip Easley. And unfortunately, that 48 dealt some damage after coming in for service. And here's how it all started.
Wow, it just looked like those cars got all kinds turned around through the corner, and it was absolute log jam as they tried to work their way on through there. Couldn't exactly see what happened. Let's take another look here, focusing in on that number 8. Little bit of contact there with the 30. That's what sent him around and sent him prone across the track, and that's what gathered the rest of the field up.
Yeah, it's a really dangerous spot there, coming around in the middle of the racing groove in the 48 to 31. Logan Sturgeon in the 26, the 25 of Kevin Hurley. All of them have to make evasive maneuvers so quickly. It's so hard to get out of the way as they're moving up the groove. It's hard to find space because there's really none of it. And the 26 gets into the 48, sends him into the wall. And that's the reason of the yellow. Kip Easley sporting a throwback to Kyle Busch's Skittles paint schemes that he ran from roughly 2014 to about 2021. He did run a Skittles car in 2022, but not the same design, and Easley with a bit of trouble. There's a piece of the damage on the rear and the front of his Chevrolet Camaro. He will bring it down pit road. Same deal with the 12, and that's got to hurt for Muscarella here, DJ, because he had spent so long at the front of the field and then lost the lead, came down pit road with the Q on hand, and just unfortunately gets caught up in the hornet's nest as they go around in front.
Yeah, and that's the gamble you take when you come down into the pits. It's not only about losing that track position, as we talked about, but it's also the fact that you can find yourself in the middle of those big incidents that fire off like that. And so certainly not the best thing to have happen. As you just saw there, I believe that was Mario Miranda coming back around to get a lap back. Unfortunately, Mario's still going to be about 8 laps back here at this point.
So caution out again, and sort of similar to how Kansas and some of the other tracks unfolded, where we've had yellows late in the going. And it is Ross Harlow still at the front of the field, looking for, like we said, win number 2 on the calendar year. His first one came at race 3, April 2nd at Richmond Raceway. So we know he's good at Darlington in the past. We know he's good right now this evening. So we'll see what could happen. But the driver right behind him has been charging hard and has the opportunity to take the lead in the waning laps of this race. And we'll talk to the 51 of Zach Wilson. Zach, it's been a really good race for you so far in this Toyota Camry. So far, P2 as we roll into the last laps. What's your mindset right now?
Yeah, the lady in black's being a temperamental old broad tonight, so it makes it a lot of fun, though. There's a lot of good drivers up here. You're really having to wheel this car. You got different tire strategies. Ross is on older tires than what I have. I'm on older tires than Stimpy and Lawson, so should be a good finish here if we can get some green flag laps. So we'll see how it goes here. I'm a little uncomfortable with him restarting on the outside here, so I don't know how this is going to go for us, but we're just going to keep this car in the top 5, and we'll take it as a win tonight, whatever happens.
And we've heard from almost everybody that patience is the biggest key to getting around this racetrack in this field. So for you, is it panning the same way, and how has it developed over the course of tonight's race?
Yeah, I'm racing the track. I'm not worried about the other drivers. You know, it's this is a type of track where you've got to focus and hit your marks and be extremely consistent and smooth. And you know, you'll pick the cars off one by one if you're able to continue to do that all the way through the race. So hopefully we can get out a good finish here at the end and put on a good show for you guys.
A good look in row number 1 for the next restart. Zach, thank you for joining us. Best of luck when we get the green. That is Zach Wilson in the 51, who will start on the inside of row 1. Ross Harlow still on the outside, as he will have control for the green flag. DJ, let's talk about the importance of track position, because that's why Harlow was here in the first place. He wanted to stay out. He did not want to come in because he wanted to stay in clean air, wanted to have the track position. With 16 laps to go when we get the green, if we get more yellows and tires are still available, are you going for that risk, or you're just going to stay out no matter how old those Eagles are?
Stay out. There is no question in my mind here at this point. 16 laps to go. Stay out and pray for yellows if you're Ross Harlow. That is my key to victory here for that number 5 machine.
Biggest point for Wilson on that interview, he's got younger tires than Harlow. He's got older tires than Steven Stepien and Lawson Peel behind him. So that's just showing you the mix of strategies we've seen in stage number 3, and we're ready for the green flag with 16 laps remaining from the lady in black. A bit of a bump by Steven Stepien to Ross Harlow. He clears ahead of everyone else for turn 1, and it might help Steven Stepien take over P2.
Boy, that was about as close could be between Stepien and Wilson. My goodness gracious, cutting right across him there. We see a little bit of side-by-side between Gary Sexton and Lawson Peel. Great run here for Gary, moving his way up through the field. And here comes Stepien on the move for the lead.
Stepien on the inside in turn 3. He strikes against Wilson, strikes against the 5. They make contact once, now twice, door to door to the start-finish line.
And Stepien's going to lead. No, he's not going to lead at the stripe. It was going to be Harlow there by a couple of thousandths of a second, but dives in it. Big contact up into the wall. Both of them are out.
Both of them into the outside wall. Wilson takes the lead. And in a dramatic sequence of events, the caution is out. Ross Harlow and Steven Stepien are in contact and in trouble. There is one car around in front of them. That's the 9 at Bill Schoonover, who had some problems after the fact of the yellow. But drama at an all-time high between your leaders. Here's how it all happened.
And it looked like there that Stepien went for a little bit of a slide job and just didn't have the speed to be able to get on by him, and as a result drifted up the track and made hard contact there on the outside. My goodness gracious.
And can you say deja vu? The exact same scenario that happened with Ross Chastain, Kyle Larson near the end of Darlington earlier this afternoon. And it's just descending to turn 1. And we talk about how dangerous it is, DJ, in these first 2 corners because of the way you have to arc it and how narrow it is. Stepien just went up the track and tried to carry that momentum to get the exit out of turn 2. Here's a look from Wilson, and unfortunately he just lost the space. The 5 was there. They both make the contact, and Wilson sees them go around and says, all right, free position, I'm in the lead.
Yeah, he's not going to be too upset about that, I have to imagine, as he is able to work his way on by. He's going to be up into the lead of the race. And Gary Sexton, once again, we said what a good run Gary was having there, up 17 on the day. He's going to find himself in that number 13 Ford starting off.
Unbelievable set of circumstances to bring 2 of our leaders to the back of the field. It's not going to take them out of this race by any stretch of the imagination, but for Stepien, that might just be race win contention donezo after finishing in 2nd last week at Kansas. Let's talk to one of our top runners right now, Gary Sexton in the 13. And Gary, I know we talked about the throwback. I wanted to see the Jeremy Mayfield. You go with the Jeff Burton, still a beautiful paint scheme regardless, but talk to us about the throwback design, how you're able to put that together, and the whole feel going into tonight's race.
Yeah, I went with Jeff Burton. He's a little more successful at Darlington than Mayfield was, so I needed a good run tonight to rebound from last week. I felt like I was pretty fast in the first stage last week and got taken out some misfortune, or had some misfortune and got taken out and finished. I don't even know where I finished last week, but yeah, I've always liked Jeff Burton cars from back in the day. A lot of the paint schemes that he had I really liked, from his X-Side days all the way up through when he was running Sitco and stuff. So yeah, I kind of rolled with this one, and yeah, we're gonna try and get this win here. Lawson's gonna be tough to hold off. My car is not driving nearly as good as it was early in the race, but we're here, so we're gonna give it a shot.
I was about to say, you've got a lot of competition around you, and we'll talk about that. I gotta have the feeling that Jeff Burton magic might just be here with the Ford Mustang this evening. But talk to us about the change. You were hanging in the front of the field at the start. You kind of went through the mid-pack. You've been on a roller coaster evening. Now that you're up front, what adjustments are you going to make in the final 11 to go for the win?
Well, I'm hoping the clean air here helps my car turn. It's gotten significantly tighter as the race has gone on. I've got 12 laps on Zach here, tire-wise, so I'm hoping that comes into play. I think my adjustment is just keeping Lawson behind me without getting off of Zach too much, and hopefully we can try to get past Zach as quick as possible and then get him between us, me and Lawson, because I think Lawson's just outright speed. He's been up front a little bit more, and he's used to, you know, what the car's doing up here, as opposed to me being mid-pack most of the night, trying to save my stuff. So we'll see.
All right, well, Gary, thank you so much for taking some time to talk with us. Best of luck on the restart, and I guess PS, go get a win for podium. We'll be rooting for you out there.
Do it.
That's Gary Sexton in the 13, rolling off inside row number 1, alongside the leader on the restart, Zach Wilson. Jesse Whittington, by the way, has made his way back up to the top 5. He's up inside the top 3. Lawson Peel on the inside of row number 2. Remember, he talked about Lawson Peel's fresh tires and how good he's been all night long. Richard Swavely has found his way into the top 5, and then Dakota Curtis, Wyatt Brackett, Ray Rogers, Judd Danielson, and how about the 19 of Brad Fulham? Started 30th tonight, got into our first caution for incident on track here at Darlington, and now he's got a shot at some decent points. Here's our driver wall as they get ready for the green flag. Well, it might be the final one with about 10 laps left. Wilson at the exit of 4. Gary Sexton to anticipate pace cars down. Green flag in the simwrapmarket.com 180 from Darlington.
Looks like a great getaway day from Zach Wilson. Sexton and Whittington going to be battling for that second place position. It's going to be advantage Gary here for the moment down to the inside. But look at the momentum that 94 is able to carry around, but a little bit squirrely, almost contact lucky that didn't get bigger.
Whittington had to really check up in turn 2 to avoid hitting the wall, and he got into the 12 barely. He smacks the wall this time in the middle of 3 and 4, but that 12 still cannot complete the pass. Wilson up to half a second.
The back.
Contact in the back, turn 4. Trouble for Sean Kalis. He spins on the front straightaway, and caution is not out. Will stay green.
All right, love to see that there with 9 laps to go. We're going to keep rolling around green here. Another car getting very squirrely down to the inside. Going to be able to save it. My goodness gracious. I think that was Knighton that we saw.
Yeah, Knighton around. Now into the outside wall. Hard hit by the 14. And that will bring us under yellow again. The 84 of Knighton kicks it off. And we'll have a restart inside. 10 laps to go.
All right, let's take a look at exactly what happened here. This is sort of an incident in slow motion. This car was just all over the place over the course of the run. Came off the corner there, you see down to the inside as that car tries to roll it back up underneath him, tries to get down out of the way, and that's going to set the 84 off and just couldn't keep it under control, and a big lick to the outside barrier.
And then a bigger hit by the 14 of Austin Shoemaker, who sent the 84 spinning like a top. You'll see again how he got unsettled in his Chevy Camaro. Here's from Shoemaker. And it looks nastier from that third-person camera, but that is sincere damage to the 14. Came in at a high rate of speed, and he'll bring it down pit road. Here's a higher look at the incident and the slam.
And there it is. My goodness gracious. That was a lick to end all licks there. And what this is going to set up here at this point, this is going to be an absolute shootout to the finish, I think, here, Kenneth. We're going to be looking at 3, maybe 4 laps to go by the time we get back to Green Flag Racing.
Yeah, we will have a very close restart to the end. And just to note, we do have those 3 green, white, checkered attempts if we do need them. So things might come down to the wire. We might extend this race past our scheduled distance at lap 135. There's Alex Muscarella getting a wave around. He is one of the cars that is just trying to settle himself back through, although he is trapped 8 laps down in 33rd. And so we'll just play the waiting game. It looks like nobody's going to come down pit road, at least for now. And Zach Wilson will stay out in front. You mentioned, DJ, that if you've got tires, you don't want to use them. You want to stay up in front. And it appears, though, the tire deficit for guys like Wilson, for guys like Sexton, in comparison to everyone else, it doesn't seem to be all too bad. It seems like they're all equalizing as yellows continue to fly and as we get these shorter runs.
Yeah, the shorter runs are really helping these drivers that have stayed out on older tires like Wilson, like Sexton that you said. The driver I was actually going to tell you to keep an eye on the last running was going to be Wyatt Bracken and Austin Reedy, as they are the drivers that are highest up that have made a later tire call, pitting on lap 104 and 111 respectively. So they could have a little bit of a run here, but I think with the short runs that we're seeing, it's just not going to play out that way.
There's Casey United in the 94, the one involved in our most recent caution, and such a shame for a beautiful Jimmy Means 1991 Alka-Seltzer throwback that Means ran with a Pontiac Grand Prix. There's the 84, just getting the damage repair on pit road. We'll see if he can get back out on track, but he's already 2 laps down in P30, so a tough break for Casey United. Zach Wilson holding on to the lead, and what we know at stake would be his first win of season number 6 in the Sunoco Cup Series, and it has been just a little while since we've seen that number 51 in victory lane. You have to travel all the way back. You scroll just a little bit through season 5, Richmond Raceway, April 3rd, 2022, so about a year ago. And Wilson led 404 laps. That race was extended to green-white checkered territory. Wilson now a year later with a chance to get his first win of season number 6. How big would that be for the RCR Motorsports Camry to get back to victory lane and be able to lock into the playoffs?
Oh, it would be absolutely mega here to not have that pressure coming down to the wire, coming into that race at Daytona, to be able to lock yourself into the playoffs. That's exactly what they want to have happen here. They're hoping they're going to be able to walk away from Darlington here tonight with a little bit of that.
So we'll double them up for a restart with around 4 laps to go. Zach Wilson, your leader, on the outside of the first row. Gary Sexton for 0G on the inside. Jesse Whittington finding his way back to the top 3. Lawson Peel on the outside in 4th. Dakota Curtis and Richard Swavely, those doubled up in row number 3 back to P6. Wyatt Brackett, Ray Rogers, 7th and 8th on the racetrack. Brad Fulham and Austin Reedy at the tail end of your current top 10. And like you said, DJ Clark, Austin Reedy on the freshest set of Goodyear Eagles at 19 laps put on that set. Pace cars down. Can we see the end of this race under green? We'll just have to find out. In the simrapmarket.com 180, the 51, looking for win number 1 in season 6, into the restart zone. Green flag in the air.
Oh, and contact immediately.
Gary Sexton is around in front of the 12, and we will extend this race. Brad Fulham, Logan Sturgeon, and it's a parking lot before we get to turn 1. Unbelievable.
And that was an absolutely bizarre moment there. As you said, you called it there perfectly, Kenneth. It looked like Gary Sexton just immediately hooked to the right and came across the track.
And you know what that is, DJ Clark? Textbook wheel spin. We haven't seen that all night long from any of our front runners, and it strikes right then and right there. The 13 with that issue gets into the 12, and he was at the top of first gear when he hopped on the gas pedal, and that car just unsettled as it shifted to second. Here's a look from Sexton's perspective. The rear tires can't handle that much revs, and it goes sideways.
Yeah, it goes sideways right into the side there, and it looks like we are going to be in that overtime territory here at this point. I think we will be getting a green-white checker to finish out this race. Let's reset the top 5 here. Zach Wilson, Jesse Whittington, Richard Swavely, Dakota Curtis, and Ray Rogers. Your top 5. Wyatt Brackett sits in 6th with the youngest set of tires. He's the first one up who made that pit stop a little bit later.
Yeah, tire strategies all over the place, no doubt about it. And looking through your running order, as Gary Sexton plummets through the field with that incident with that 12 of Lawson Peel, that makes it 12 cars right now that do not have a win this season, that are looking for win number 1. You have to go all the way back to 13th place, Curtis Kelly to find a driver who has won so far this season. So we are probably setting up for our 5th different winner in the last 5 races. There's a look at where Curtis Kelly is sitting in that 71 car. Everybody else ahead have never seen a checkered flag in their hand this season. So it is really going to come down to these hungry drivers and how much they're willing to risk when it comes down to getting this win from Darlington Raceway. And thank you, our producer Ryan Bauer, saying, does that count as a curse, since I told Gary Sexton to win it for us at podium? It never escapes. It never escapes, does it?
The commentator's curse is strong and it will never go away.
It is alive. It's alive and well every time you think it's gone. Every time you think it's dead, it comes back to strike you right in the face. And it's done it for the 2nd straight week in a row. So I apologize, Gary Sexton, as he gets caught in that crash there on the restart. Lawson Peel on pit road. That 13 just coming out of the lane for damage repair to 14.6 second stop. And Sexton will rejoin this race from 25th. So our first of 3 green-white checkered attempts tonight, and as we get into our attempt in a couple of laps time, we'll remind you just how this thing all works. For GWC territory, we'll rack up the field and get it going with about 2 laps to go. If a caution comes out before the leader gets to the white flag, we will reset and do it all over again. However, if the leader does get to the white and nobody crashes, no caution gets thrown prior, then we will run it all the way to the end no matter what happens. And then our last scenario, which seems to be the worst case, if we burn up all 3 attempts, that caution comes out before the white flag on the final attempt, then we'll just have the leader be decided as the winner here from Darlington Raceway. And you're looking at this field who has to try and beat Zach Wilson now. Jesse Whittington, Richard Swavely, Dakota Curtis, Wyatt Brackett, Ray Rogers, Austin Reedy, among those that are just hungry for their first win. What do you try to do if you're any one of those guys?
I think this is all going to be about the restart. You have got to try to time this restart absolutely right. We've seen the leader be able to get a good jump, really with the exception of one run that we saw earlier on where we were able to see some drivers send up the challenge. I think you've just got to time it right. And if you're Zach Wilson, they've got to go here for the moment and try to be able to just absolutely time this right. It's hard to get a pass done, and if you're able to keep yourself up in the lead, that's all you need to do.
You need to make quick work here, and if you're the 51 of Zach Wilson, obviously, biggest goal is to clear yourself before turn 1. You want to have clean air. You don't want to have anybody on your inside. By the time you get to that corner, we've seen only maybe 1 restart, DJ, where the 2 on the front row have been even going into the first corner. For the most part, that leader has been able to scurry away without any issue. Would Jesse Whittington be able to predict correctly? It's all a matter of time. He just made contact with the 51. I think Wilson just went over the radio and Whittington just apologized there. But they're going to be doubled up. First row, ready for our first of 3 green-white checkered attempts in. Our producer Ryan Bauer was right. I was a little wrong on that last assessment for top 12. Not with a win. Gonna make it top 11. Brandon Banks is in that group. Remember, he was a winner a couple of weeks back at Dover Motor Speedway. Pace cars down. First attempt at overtime with 2 laps to go from the lady in black. Zach Wilson, Jesse Whittington to the green flag.
Here they come. We've been able to avoid any of the problems, any of the calamities that we've seen off of the restarts here at this point as they dive down into the corner. And Wilson's done exactly what he needs to do up in the lead of this race.
And contact for 4th. That was Richard Swavely, Wyatt Brackett getting a piece of the action. The 30 will slide up the track, come down, but we will stay green. Nobody else in trouble. Never mind. 1 car into the inside wall. Will that bring the caution? Yes, it will. And we'll have attempt number 2 on the way.
All right, time to re-rack, restack, and do this all over again as drivers just not able to keep it clear. The lady in black, the truck, let me see if I can get these monikers out right here. The lady in black, the track too tough to tame. That certainly proving to be true here tonight.
We're gonna have to try and see exactly what happened on the back straightaway. We saw that car heading straight, nose first into the inside wall. That is Chris Progar in the 7, and he got hooked by the 13 of Gary Sexton coming out of turn 2, so officially identified who that car was. Progar tonight running a Jim Reed 1959 Southern 500 winning throwback. The 7 in trouble here as he gets passed by the 99, then goes through, that looks to be the 2 of Travis Stevens, but here comes Sexton, a little head of steam and right into the 7, and that's a hard hit into the wall. The 7 with a huge lick, and that's exactly what brings out the yellow and will make us restart again.
Yeah, it certainly would here at this point. Some debris scattered across the racetrack here as they go. So we're going to get green-white checker attempt number 2. Same rules apply as the last time around. If we get that white flag, this race is going to be done because we're going to be able to see the next flag finish it.
And that's going to keep Zach Wilson in the lead for a couple of more laps. Now this does give the opportunity for Jesse Whittington and company to gain on that 51, try again to predict on the restart. But for Wilson, I think that last restart might have just been the perfect scenario. You're letting everybody else fight behind you. You're clearing the turn 1. You can let them lose time on their own, and you can pull away for the W. But if these cautions only continue to go out, it seems as though the pressure is only going to amplify for your Wilson, because you're in the catbird seat, you're in the lead, you're expected to lead the race into turn 1 without problems, and as soon as you falter, everyone else takes advantage, and you've got no opportunity then but to just fight against it and hope it all sticks. It hasn't happened for that 51, but you got to keep that in mind if you're the leader. You have to be a master of the restarts, and you cannot let one mistake get in the way of what's been a great race so far for that Toyota Camry.
No, you certainly can't. You've just got to buckle on in, make sure you get everything together, and make sure you do not make a mistake. This is the lap to make sure it is. You've got to be treating this like we're not going to have another one. You have got to make sure you nail this restart again if you are Zach Wilson.
I've seen many times where the leader leads green-white checkers up until the second or final attempt, and then right as the caution comes out, somebody takes advantage of that leader's mistake and they win the race. Wilson does not want that to happen to him. He's got a guy like Jesse Whittington behind him who's been oh so consistent in this Sunoco Cup Series. The only thing he's missing is a race win. We said it earlier in the broadcast. He's been knocking on the door for a checkered flag. Could tonight be that possibility? And that could go the same for Dakota Curtis, who's had an up and down season. Richard Swavely, who's also been in the same vein as Curtis with an up and down year looking for a win. Ray Rogers coming off of his best finish of the season at Kansas last week, if he can get his first win in a very long time since season 5 at Rockingham. Austin Riddy in the 96 looking for his first win since Las Vegas in 2022. So many storylines going into these restarts, and it appears we're going to be doubling it up and trying it again for attempt number 2.
All right, there a little bit of gamesmanship from Jesse Whittington, just speeding ahead there a little bit, braking, probably trying to get those brakes up to temperature here. I can tell you track temperature has fallen quite a bit since the beginning of this race. It's down to 89 degrees Fahrenheit out on track. It's going to help the tires here a little bit and help preserve that tire life. But the biggest thing here for these drivers is they're not worrying about tires here at this point. This is all about just get up and go.
It's about gunning for the lead and nothing else. Our second of 3 attempts here from Darlington Raceway. And we'll reset the top 10 as it goes. Zach Wilson, your leader. Jesse Whittington on the inside in second. Richard Swavely, Dakota Curtis, third and fourth in row number 2. Austin Reedy in 5th. Ray Rogers in P6. Garrett Brown 7th. Kevin Hurley in 8th. Judd Danielson in 9th. And rounding out your top 10, the number 54 of Brandon Banks, who's had an awfully quiet night after starting 21st. His possibility at some nice top 10 points in these final laps. It's all about whether Wilson makes a mistake or if Whittington and company can have a great restart and put the fight up to that Toyota Camry with the Mark Martin colors on board as we'll get ready for another restart. 2 laps to go from the lady in black. Whittington right there on the rear, the right side, or the left side rather, of Zach Wilson's Toyota Camry, back under green. Wilson with a huge jump to turn 1.
That's exactly what Wilson needed to do. He's going to be able to be running in the clear air. We already talked to the drivers like Ross Harlow that said that clean air is of absolute priority. A lot of movement, a lot of side-by-side farther back in the field. Little bit of contact as well. That was a heavy lick, and we've got another car around.
Rogers into the outside wall, multiple others sideways. James Kunkel, it looks like Warren Kyle Keith, those hitting the wall, and this will be the final attempt at a green-white checkered coming up as we have another crash to slow this race down, and we'll see how it all happened. It looked like two separate incidents, beginning with Austin Reedy and Ray Rogers.
Yeah, there it is, just that little bit of a push up the track and then a little bit of a hook there from the number 11 of Ray Rogers, and then farther back down in the field, that's where the real calamity fired off.
And a 5 slides up the track in turn 2, gets into the 3 of James Kunkel, and from there they travel down the track. They collect Logan Sturgeon on the way. As that 3 comes in, he hits the 24 hard, bringing the 14, the 31, the 43 in that mess as well. Might tie it for the biggest crash we've seen so far this evening, and probably our most pivotal. It will send us into our final attempt at GWC. There's a look at the 3 and the 5, getting into the 26. Look at the 24 getting spun around as a result, trying to get by all of it.
Yeah, a lot of drivers just finding the wrong way around there. Too much leaning on each other coming through the corner. This is just a matter of drivers trying to fight for those final positions in the last stages of the race. And there you can see kind of that funnel effect down to the inside as all those drivers scramble to get off down to the left-hand side of the track, and it's just not playing out and them running out of room.
Run out of room easily here at Darlington. A look on board with Gary Sexton. What a tough hit. And this race has really gone sour for that 13. He was in second at one point. We talked to him under yellow, and then got involved in that incident on the restart. Has been since trapped back there and has not been able to escape Miranda. Boy, it's been a rough night for that 98.9. Things continue to pummel onto him. He's just looking to survive at this stage, but gets a bit of the contact, and there's Wilson getting back to the line. And here we stand once again behind the iRacing official pace car, DJ. It just feels like the end not in sight right now. And for Wilson and Whittington, these are just agonizingly long waits in between restarts where you want to try your best if you're Whittington to get to Wilson. If you're Wilson, you want to try your best to stay up front and win this race, send it home. But when the cautions keep flying, it only makes you a little more nervous each and every time, and it just makes you that much more impatient.
Yeah, very much so. As the more times you now know this is your final opportunity to get those positions by. And I think for these drivers, that's just going to amp up their aggression here at this point. They know there's not another chance. And so if you want to try to get those valuable playoff points, you want to try to be able to steal that win away from Zach Wilson, you are going to be pushing tooth and nail at this point to be able to do it.
Well, so far, it has not been successful on behalf of Whittington and company. They have not been able to even that 51 as they've taken the green flag. So Wilson, as of now, has been taking control of business, and we'll see if he can do it on this final attempt. And also, best case scenario, if that 51 stays out front and another caution comes out, race is going to be over. So he won't have to worry about another restart thereafter. Now, so we'll have 2 laps to go on this restart. It looks like we might get the 1 to green before we expected. It looks like it's going to be a little more of a wait, but as we cross the start-finish line, should be 2 laps to go. At this point, it's just a big waiting game now, and maybe for many of those, it's a time to start to look forward to Charlotte Motor Speedway in a couple of weeks' time. May 28th is when we'll have it at around Memorial Day weekend, and that's actually right before Memorial Day proper. So we'll go to the hometown of NASCAR, Charlotte Motor Speedway, and I guess that's where everyone's thinking if you're not these front 5 or if you're not anybody else. But we will have the next race be the All-Star race at North Wilkesboro, North Carolina, so we will have that race broadcasted on Podium Esports. So that'll be a lot of fun, DJ. We'll get to also throw it back in time. Dakota Curtis was saying in the voice chat earlier that you can run your throwbacks for that race too, since technically it counts, but North Wilkesboro All-Star race, that's going to be a lot of fun next weekend, and for no points either.
Yeah, going to be very, very fun. And I got to be honest with you, Kenneth, I'm very unfortunate that I'm going to have to miss it, as I'm going to be down in, I'm going to be down in Texas calling a little race at Circuit of the Americas. So I'm very upset that I'm not going to be able to be there and be able to see it. But hopefully I'll be back at the hotel in time to be able to watch on Podium Esports.
I'll send you my salutes from the virtual broadcast booth. We know you're going to have a lot of fun at Circuit of the Americas, and obviously wishing you the best of luck. Know you're going to kill it like you always do. Zach Wilson, Jesse Whittington, bringing us our final attempt at a green-white checkered here from Darlington Raceway. Can we end this race under green? A big, big question mark. Green flag on display, the 51, out and away, clear for turn 1.
All right, that's exactly what Wilson needed to do. Now let's watch the rest of the field here, see that they're going to be able to keep it in line. Remember, if we get that white flag, the next flag will finish and we'll be able to go. We're through turn 1 for the first couple of cars. Again, very, very squirrely. We've got a little contact there in the back. Are they going to keep it pointed the right way? Yes, they are.
That's the 10 of Dakota Curtis, who had some problems out of turn 2, and Zach Wilson can see the white flag, but here comes Jesse Whittington with a big run out of turn 4, car on the outside wall, but will stay green. This race is official. White flag from Darlington.
Wilson trying to hold this out to the best of his ability. There you can see behind Jesse Whittington trying to close on in as they fly down the backstretch. Here's the move for the win.
Whittington to the inside in turn 3. He'll make the slide. He'll get into the 51. Whittington finds his way through and out of the final corner. Jesse Whittington loose. Wilson goes by. Zach Wilson takes it back and wins the SimRapMarket.com 180.
What did we just see? Jesse Whittington with the move of the race and then the car stepping out on him. My goodness gracious.
The win looked in his hands, but the car steps out in turn 4. Zach Wilson has clear space to get by, and he wins here at Darlington, the 5th different winner in the last 5 races, his first of the season since Richmond in 2022. Over a year in the making, and Zach Wilson brings us the Sunoco winning moment. More high-performance racing engines rely on Sunoco race fuels than all others combined. For over 50 years, Sunoco has been fueling the top race car drivers around the world with high-quality performance fuels they can trust to power them to the checkered flag. Sunoco, fueling victories from track to tank. GJ, let's look at this one more time. And you have to imagine the immense heartbreak if you're that 94 of Jesse Whittington, who had the win in the bag, and it was that one subtle mistake, getting loose out of 4, that costs him his first career Sunoco Cup Series victory. Here's how the restart went into turn 1. It looked like Wilson was well ahead and away, but that 94 fought back.
Yeah. Really, really did. I thought for sure that Wilson was going to be able to run away with this. Whittington just absolutely stayed in it, kept behind, pushed as hard as possible. As we come out of turn 4 on the final, the penultimate lap here, you see the run starting to develop. Big contact there behind that, scatters out the field, pretty much guarantees that this is going to be a 2-car race here at this point. And then the great run here from Whittington coming off at turn 2 and setting up for the move down into 3.
It just looked like before they got to turn 2, Wilson was losing all sorts of ground. That 94 gets to the inside in turn 3, and you can imagine he could put that 51 in the wall, but he races him clean. He doesn't even make contact, if not bare contact, but it's right here, right there where that 94 steps out of line, and that car loses itself. And with all that lost momentum, that 51 is still there. Here's another look at it. The 94 comes down the track. Wilson has this win at this point. And that is so, so tough. That's the difference. 0.2 of a second. And it's a nail biter all the way to the end. Zach Wilson wins his first race of season 6.
Remarkable, remarkable stuff. And, well, Darlington never fails to impress, Kenneth. There's no other way to put that.
My goodness. Track Too Tough to Tame puts on a stellar showdown in the inning laps here at the SimRapMarket.com 180. Post-race coverage on the other side. Zach Wilson, your winner. We'll be right back.
Ha!
What
into you. At Sunoco, we know how to fuel peak performance. We've been doing it for American racing for over 50 years. Fuel your best.
Fuller.
Yeah.
Needed F-150 for Smith build.
Got it.
Yesterday.
I know.
Don't forget my BMW.
Gotcha. Check this out. All the major online automotive sites in one place. BMW, done. F-150, done.
How's he do it?
I can search nationwide. Even those classified sites. Auto Tempest, all the cars, one search. That's how I do it.
Hi guys, today me and Moose welcome to my extremely formal presentation of my two latest creations, the MPI Sync Chassis and the MPI Foldable Stand. When I created the MPI chassis, I wanted to have everything included, what it means. So in the MPI chassis, I wanted to have everything you need besides the electronics. So it has the keyboard tray, mouse tray, adjustability, TV stand, computer stand, super stiff pedal assembly, a seat that if you want, if you don't have a lot of space, you can fold it. If you have limited space, I solved your problem. The MPI wheel stand, you can use any component you want on it, and at night, fold in half, very limited space, and you can put it away. You can use your own chair, your own TV, problem solved.
Janice.
What's up, Doug? Hi, Cheryl. What got into you?
At Sunoco, we know how to fuel peak performance. We've been doing it for American racing for over 50 years. Fuel your best.
Darlington never fails to impress. A close finish here in the waning laps on our last attempt over green-white checkered, where Zach Wilson wins tonight's race to the simrapmarket.com 180 by 0.2 of a second over Jesse Whittington, who had the lead at the exit of turn 4, got loose and let that 51 go by at the end. Austin Reedy ends up wrapping up your podium and held that fast Panetta car, got around Richard Swavely before they got to the white flag. Brandon Banks with a very quiet but effective evening after starting in 21st at 54, comes home in P4. The number 5 place will go to the 25 of Kevin Hurley. 6th place will go to Garrett Brown in the 16. And then following suit, Joseph Mahar in the 46. An up and down night for his Kevin Harvick throwback, but he comes home in 7th. Richard Swavely hit the wall on the front straightaway from 3rd on the final lap. He goes back to 8th. Kip Easley, despite his problems and some of the contact that he faced earlier in the night, he comes home in 9th. And Lawson Peel in the 12 wraps up the top 10.
A late pit stop there for Colin Forrester, not necessarily playing out dividends as he'll come home in 11th, followed by Judd Danielson. Then it was a pair of Fast Banana Racing drivers in the form of Wyatt Brackett and Curtis Kelly. Steven Stepien, who we thought was the driver to beat here early on, taken out about halfway through the race, finds himself in 15th. A good recovery drive after that pretty heavy damage. Then it was Justin Rivas, Sean Kalis, Dakota Curtis, Gary Sexton recovers to 19th, and Brad Fulham rounds out your top 20.
Ross Harlow's 21st, Logan Sturgeon back in 22nd, Justin Erd would come home 23rd, Parker Bland is 24th after starting 26th on the night. 32nd is where Travis Stevens started this race. He ends up 25th and is the last car on the lead lap as of the running order. Ray Rogers, the first one lap down in 26th. 27th will go to the Cheerios throwback of James Kunkel. Bill Schoonover rounds out this race in the same place he started, 28th. On the running order, 3 laps down. Casey United came back on track after that huge hit in turn 3, ends up in 29th. Austin Shoemaker, 6 laps down, will round out the top 30.
Also 6 laps down, and 31st was Warren Kyle Keith, followed by Mario Miranda. A valiant effort to get his way back up through the field, but it just didn't pay out dividends here today. Following him home was Alex Muscarella, Chris Shoemaker, Ryan Kendall, Chuck Phelps, Chris Progar, Justin Winters, and Isaac Mock.
That's your 40-car field here from Darlington Raceway, and it's our time to discuss with the winner. Zach Wilson gets his first W of Season 6 And Zach, I have to imagine those emotions were all over the place. First 2 green-white checkered attempts, you held it down on the restart, and then came that last one. Whittington on your tail. What's going through your mind right now, and what was going through your mind then in that last lap?
Well, I saw him get a really good run out of 2, and I knew I was going to have to give him the bottom there just because doing all those restarts had burnt the rears off. So I didn't have any drive off. So gave him the bottom there. Was planning on just trying to turn down and get underneath him out of 4, and he he got up loose out of 4, and I saw him about the 3/4 mark. The right rear started stepping out on him, so I was just like, okay, we've got a chance here. And then when it snap hooked, I was just like, no, we're not letting out and hope for the best. And it worked out at the end. I mean, it's about time one of these go my way. So
That's certainly for sure. 5th different winner in the last 5 weeks. And let's talk about it. Last year was the last time you had a win in this series, at least in terms of full-time series, not counting the winter series that happened not that long ago. You won at Richmond Raceway in a 404 lap race about a year ago. How good does it feel a year later to work as hard as you did and to get back here to this very same place at this time at Darlington?
yeah, that Richmond race, I led over 3/4 of that race, but there's been a lot of races I've been in contention, and either pit strategy go wrong or I make mistakes on my end. It's really easy to do. None of us perfect, especially me. I get excited in these situations, especially running with these guys. They put on a good show, and I feel bad for Jesse. He was trying to snag one there, and it didn't work out for him. But this feels good to get me locked in. I know I was sitting really good in points. We've ran good for points all year long. So just padding these playoff points are going to help us in the future here for the playoffs and hopefully get us into later stages.
I know it's also made me think about the ones that's gotten away this season. I can easily think of Atlanta to kick off the year where you had such a great run and it unfortunately went in the wrong way. But tonight it undoes everything, all the wrongs that have happened in the last year. You locked into the playoffs, and you said it, that now you're in after being very consistently in the top 10 in the playoffs, in the standings by points. What is your mindset change now? Like how does it change this time that you've got to win? You can move to Charlotte knowing, hey, I've got to win. I'm in the back for the playoffs. Now it's time to run this thing.
Yeah, being locked into the playoffs helps a lot. We're just going to push for playoff points now, be that by wins or stage wins. So we need to try to make as many of those as we can and just stay steady with what we're doing. So far, it's been a great year. I can't complain. We had a couple of bad finishes, got wrecked out on a green white checker at Talladega out of second. Some other stuff, but it'll all work out in the end. And some good tracks coming up for us. It should be a lot of fun.
Clutch W here from Darlington Raceway. Zach, go celebrate. And the Mark Martin colors go to victory lane. A beautiful scheme on the Toyota Camry. Zach, thank you so much for joining us. Congratulations on the win here from Darlington. Welcome to the playoffs. We'll see you at the All-Star race next week.
Yeah, appreciate you guys.
That's Zach Wilson in the 51. First win for RTR Motorsports on the year. And we'll turn it over to Jesse Whittington, who was that close to the checkered flag in his first career win in this series. He's caught up with DJ Clark.
Jesse, I don't have words for you, man. Talk me through that last lap.
I got a little too eager. I got a fantastic run off of turn 2 and was able to set Zach up. I knew his tires were about probably 10 laps older than mine. And I was like, I know I can make it stick on the bottom. And I got a little too eager. Heart started pumping, and I just got a little loose. Thought I had it saved. Went over there's a little hump whenever you're coming off of turn 4, and went over that hump, and the back end got light, and there was nothing I could do. I'm just that stings. That stings so bad.
I mean, I can imagine, my friend, but I hate to be Mr. Sunshine and Rainbows here, but you've got to at least be able to take some good solace out of this. You drove a fantastic race. You were up in contention really much this entire run, and coming home P2 here, it sets yourself up well. It's not a lock into the playoffs, but it gets you some good points going forward.
Yeah, I mean, I was already inside of the playoff bubble, so having 2 5th-place finishes and then in the stages, and then so that's 12 points plus the 35. It was definitely a good points day. It would have just been really nice to be able to lock myself in and not have to worry about that and just go out and try to have more races like this as we go along. But I mean, it is what it is. I just gotta come back next time out. I mean, I know we got the All-Star race next week, so we're not running for points. And, after that, we'll just have to sit down and keep on grinding, keep on learning. And if I'm in this position again, I'm just going to take a deep breath and try to close it out that time.
Well, I have no doubt that you will. I mean, this is 3 top 10s for you, keeping yourself above that playoff line. As you go through the rest of the season, are you going to change any approach based off of this, or are you just going to keep doing you?
I'm just going to keep on doing what I can. I mean, I got 3 straight top 10s, I think 5 out of the 9 on the year, and the other ones were either DNFs or just getting caught up in something and not being able to recover. So I mean, I definitely feel really good this season, especially compared to last season. I've been working really hard trying to learn this car, trying to learn. I haven't even been running this car that much. I've been running a whole lot of other stuff just to kind of get an understanding of the sim. So I feel like a lot of that is kind of coming back and playing in my favor, just having an all-around understanding of the sim instead of just this car. So I'm just going to go out next time and just keep on trying to do what I'm doing and hopefully not choke another one away.
Well, Jesse, I got no doubts at all that you're going to be back here. We're going to be talking to you again in 2 weeks' time. You can hold me to that, my friend. We'll be talking to you again here soon. But second place, nothing to shake a stick at. Who'd you like to thank?
First of all, I got to give a huge shout out to Sheriff Strafe and Strafe Nation. I see them blowing up the chat every single week that we have a race. And, make sure you go to sheriffstrafe.com. You can get a shirt like this, 100% cotton. It's super comfortable. And also would like to thank my other sponsors, Daniel and Daniel Maintenance, K9 Rouge Rescue, Ghost Energy, and my wife she's sitting inside with the kids right now on Mother's Day, so I have to say thank you to her for her love and support and understanding that this passion of mine.
Well, Jesse, congratulations on a second place. Heartbroken for you that we saw it slip away, my friend. But as I said, we're going to see you back in this victory lane before the end of the year. I got faith in that.
I sure hope so. Thank you guys for the phenomenal broadcast and everything every week.
All right. Thank you so much. Jesse Whittington, your second place finisher here tonight, Kenneth.
Tough break for that 94, but just like you said, DJ, he's knocking on the door. That win is coming awfully soon, and with the support that he's got from the sheriffstrafe.com community, and no doubt that 94 riding a high of momentum, he's going to be there come playoff time. Let's talk to the driver who rounds out your top 3, and it's the 96 of Austin Reedy. And Austin, I know we saw what happened with the top 2 there in the winning laps, but what did you see to get to 3rd in those last 2?
A lot of calamity. We got pretty lucky, be honest, with a lot of restarts and how things panned out. Try to keep the car as clean as we could and driving as hard as we could. Just how these races go when we get caution after caution, and it's impossible to pass here. We got a 10-foot wide car and a 8-foot wide track, so gotta take it where you get it. And luckily we found ourselves top 3.
You end up there with a fantastic finish, and we know coming off of Kansas where you ended up in the top 10, a lot of momentum on your side. Before we talk about the future, I mean, just give us your perspective of those green-white checkers. We've used all 3 of them tonight. What was it like to just go back and forth, and how did that take a toll on you mentally there?
Mentally it was pretty tough because it stunk when you got stuck on the bottom. I hated being on the bottom. You lose 2 or 3 spots every time, and just trying to get up there. We knew we had the freshest tires in the field, and just never had the time to get it done. We got pretty lucky with guys self-spinning, getting loose. I was really hoping I would see the 94 and the 51 get into each other in turn 3, but it didn't happen. But I mean, a 3rd place after this race I'll take that after a stage win and a second place in the stage. It's pretty solid, pretty good for points.
Really good on points, this top 3. Now, All-Star Week. at North Wilkesboro 1 week from tonight. Any thoughts on that and how you're going to use that to maybe just get the thing rolling for Charlotte Motor Speedway on May 28th?
We're just gonna be having some fun, using a little bit of bump and run there. Just a race where we can all go out and just have a little bit of fun. The last year's is pretty cool with the IndyCar at Texas. So the All Star race is a good week for everybody to relax and get our mindset, and let's get this next half of the season done.
We know this season has been treating you quite well as of late. Consistent finishes, and we'll probably see you in victory lane and in the playoffs before we know it. Austin, thank you so much for joining us. Congratulations on the podium finish from Darlington, and we'll see you at the All-Star race next week at North Wilkesboro.
All right, I'll see you, boys.
Austin Riddy in his Andy Houston 2001 throwback lines up the top three and closes out our segment for driver interviews. DJ, wow, I don't know what to say. I mean, Darlington brought us a lot of things, different strategies. We saw at one point 3 different strategies on display at the same time, but that didn't matter at the end. 3 green-white checkered attempts, and then it all just came down to that last pass, Zach Wilson versus Jesse Whittington. Classic ending.
Classic ending. It really doesn't get much better than this, and this is why we've got those overtime finishes, folks. We want to be able to run them to the line like that. Absolutely incredible. The track too tough to tame never plays favorites around here, and it is always good to be able to see a good running for all of these drivers. So upset that I'm going to be away from you for the next couple of weeks, Kenneth, as this is just going to be some great action as we continue to go along in the Sunoco Cup Series.
Things only continue to get better. We're going to miss you, DJ, 100%, but we know you're going to be killing it out in Circuit of the Americas, no doubt about it. Next week, though, North Wilkesboro Speedway, throwing it back to NASCAR history. They're going back there in real life next week, so that's going to be awesome. But then we look forward even then. Charlotte Motor Speedway, our first 1.5 miler since Kansas last week, and then Gateway, Watkins Glen, and Daytona to close out the season. Remember, that big bracket challenge is still going on, by the way, up until Daytona, so $200 are still on the line, and we're going to have that competition just continue to mesh well together. What do you see here in these last couple of races, even after North Wilkesboro, where playoff time is starting to get to a crunch and drivers who aren't in are trying to get in?
I think you're going to see a lot of the scrapping that we saw farther back in the field. That's going to continue to play itself out here over the course of the next couple of races. Drivers are going to get hungry, they're going to get aggressive, and they are going to push.
It's going to be a big push in those last couple of races for playoff time. We'll see exactly how it all fares out. We take 1 week for All-Star Racing, no points, just prizes involved. That's going to be a lot of fun. We get to kind of relax a little bit and get settled in our chairs before we have to sit back up straight and go for the crunch time in the regular season up until playoff mode. Charlotte Motor Speedway is our next regular season race on May 28th, but we'll be back 1 week from tonight from North Wilkesboro for the Sunoco Cup Series All-Star Race. But that does it for us here from Darlington. So for Dakota Curtis and all the admins at the Sunoco Cup Series, and a big thank you to our broadcast team tonight, everyone at Podium Esports, Gary Sexton and John Theodore, our producer tonight, Ryan Bauer, our camera creator, Dougie Beard, and for my colleague in the booth, DJ Clark, my name is Kenneth Bueno, saying thank you so much and congratulations to Zach Wilson on win number 1 in Season 6. We'll go All-Star Racing at North Wilkesboro 1 week from tonight.